who are able, please let's be on our feet for the national anthem.
The national anthem, please. We'll take the national anthem to start and then the second stanza as a national prayer.
Our DJ, are we having glitch? Is it a network glitch? I could as well sing it, right?
I think we should.
On the count of 2, we sing the national anthem. 1, 2, go. Arise, O compatriots, Nigeria's call obey, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. We're going to recite the second stanza as a national prayer. 1, 2, go. O God of creation, direct our noble course. Guide our leaders right. Help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow. And living just and true. Great lofty height attain. To build a nation where peace and justice reigns. Thank you all so much. Put your hands together while you take your seats.
Good evening again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's our pleasure to have every one of us here for this year's Dial Awards. And in a moment, I'm going to tell us what Dial Awards is about for those who are just coming in contact with the name for the first time or to the event for the first time. But before then, my name is Olalekan Wonikoko. I act as the Chief Operations Officer for Project Enable Africa. And together with me today, hosting this amazing event is...
My name is Grace Jerry. I am the Executive Director of the Inclusive Friends Association. And for tonight, we are
going
co-hosting.
to be your host.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, like I said, it's going to be an amazing event. And what makes it most amazing is that you are here. You are here means that you value the cause of inclusion in Nigeria and by extension the world at large. And that is a noble and amazing thing to do. The Dial Awards is essentially the Disability Inclusion and Leadership Awards. It's our own opportunity to recognize and appreciate everyone that is championing the cause of disability inclusion in Nigeria. We all know that it's a lot of work, especially what the theme of our dinner today is, which has to do with the Disability Act. Of course, one of the things we're doing today is to show you a documentary which essentially is the history, a story, a journey of when there was nothing on ground and everyone who partook, who did one thing or the other to ensure that that Disability Act is passed. Of course, it's at the beginning of many steps ahead, but we celebrate where we are so that we are inspired to go more. I want to welcome us again to this evening, and I promise that it's going to be an amazing one.
Well, it's going to be an amazing evening, I would say. And to take us further, we would like to welcome the person who has gathered us here this evening. I'm sure you would want to see his face. You would want to know how tall or how short he is. And you also want to know if he's dark or light-skinned. Above all, you would want to know why we are gathered here this evening. Do we have a citation of Mr. You know him more than I do.
Okay.
I know Awodi Koko as a fellow, a Mandela Washington fellow during my 2015 cohort, but his program
is the executive director for Project Enable
Africa.
Africa.
Go ahead and just blow his trumpet a little bit.
All right, I mean, it's the reason why we're here. This journey started more than 9 years ago from a young man going on the streets of Surulere, Lagos, and touched by the reality of the community that he's living in. And that is what has brought every one of us together. I had no idea of what disability inclusion was until he started that journey. And over the years, we've had a countless amount of people who have jumped on the train because of his leadership. We have been able to do a lot of things to get a lot of support to impact a lot of lives because of his leadership. Please, let's put our hands together
as
much as we can as we welcome Olushola
Owonikoko, the tallest man in the building this evening. Keep clapping as he comes forward.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I know we have people coming from almost every part of Nigeria. Some people flew in today, some they are really the hosts here in Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us this beautiful evening. I'm going to start by convening the welcome of our board of advisors, ably chaired by Dr. Joe Oke-Odumakin. She wanted to be here, but the doctor had put her on time off from traveling, so she's not able to travel. However, very soon you are going to get the brochure for this event. It's almost here. You would see the welcome address that she has written and asked that we share with everyone. So thank you once again on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the Board of Advisors that we have. In addition to her, we have other board members here. Particularly, we also have Dolapo Agbede, who is a member of our board, also seated here, and we're expecting others to join us as we go ahead. So I'm going to start from where Lekon, who introduced me, started from, because today really is about three things that we want to do. First of all, is to celebrate with the community of persons with disabilities that we have worked with for 9 years. Secondly, it's also about the documentary that we're all going to be watching together in a few minutes, which shows the journey of the movements that led to the Disability Act, which has become like a pivot for many of the conversation and engagement around disability, and will continue to be so because it provides an important legal framework for us all. And finally is to appreciate and recognize people that we already know, that we found out during the course of producing the documentary that were pivotal, played key roles in ensuring that the Disability Act, came to be. And we are really glad and happy that we do not just have those people, we also have our very, very important guests that I really want to appreciate. I'm not sure we have established a protocol, so maybe this is starting to establish the protocol. First of all, I want to recognize the presence of the House Committee Chair on Disability Matters, Honorable Dr. Bashiru Daudu. Thank you. Who has been very generous to us, hosting us here in Abuja and supporting our work, not just in words, but by being here today. Secondly, is also to appreciate the presence of the Senior Special Advisor to the President of Nigeria, Honorable Mohammed Haba Issa. Thank you so much for joining us. And we also have the presence of the Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Persons with Disability. Thank you for championing the commission. Thank you. And perhaps tonight, our most important stakeholders, the community of persons with disabilities, represented by every one of you, but particularly appreciating the leadership of the National President of the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities. Thank you so much, Mr. Aliu Usman, for being here today and for all the work that you do to champion the community. And we have lots more people, and I will leave the rest to the MC, the moderators, to continue to introduce them. But I would not continue without appreciating our partners for this event. I already mentioned two of them. The Commission, for the first time, we are working with the National Commission, and we are really excited because we have a partnership in government supporting our work openly, and also Jonapid. Also, we have worked with Jonapid since we started, but particularly with the new administration of Jonapid, I think that is particularly significant. And tonight, I also want to acknowledge the British Council for supporting this program in a very significant way. As a matter of fact, they are not just here, but they have gone to put resources to make sure this program and event is held. And we are grateful for that. Thank you so much to all our friends also. I would continue to acknowledge and appreciate you as we go on so that I don't miss anybody's name or organization, so that I don't mess that up. I will stop the introduction there. But just to speak to the 9 years journey, I remember when I started my career in the development space, and my thought was, where would my focus be? Where am I going to, sort of specialize and build expertise? It was in 2013, and I just moved to a community in Surulere in Lagos. And the first observation I had is the aggregation of persons with disabilities around the National Stadium. And I was curious, what is happening here? Why were these people here? And, at some point I went there to engage them. And then I started to learn about the issues that they face, the issues facing the communities, the challenges, the barriers. And then just about 6 months later, in 2014, April, to be precise, I got into a Keke Napep. How many of you know Keke Napep? In Keke Napep, by design, you are not supposed to sit in front. It's just supposed to be the rider for balance. But for one reason or the other, there are some of us who sit with one half of our buttocks, and you are holding the rail. How many of you can identify with that? And then if the Keke swaps too fast, you can fall off if you are not holding well. That was my experience that day. Trying to get to my destination early, trying to hold on so that I survived the ride. But in the middle of all of that, I observed that the person riding, the rider, was a person with physical disability. And that caught my attention for a moment. Because for the first time in my engagement, I realized that the problem wasn't the impairment. The problem was that the society wasn't adaptive to the needs of persons with disability. Eventually, I would realize that is the social model of disability. And right there in that Keke Napep was the birth of Project Enable Africa. Because my thought was, thank you, if we can enable persons with disabilities with the right environment, then everybody can be productive, everybody can get on, everybody can learn. And that is what we have done over the years. And we have empowered a lot of people through vocational skills. Initially, we shifted to digital technology, partnering with Google at some point to set up an inclusion hub, training. But more particularly, since COVID, our post-COVID strategy has been bridging the gap between the talent and between the supply and demand of talent with disabilities in the formal and informal sector. So we are focused on upskilling, placing in jobs, and we have placed quite a number of persons with disability in jobs in corporate sector, Sterling Bank, Access Bank, Sheraton, a lot of other organizations that we are continuing to engage, and helping private sector organizations also become disability inclusive and become disability confident employers. And around all of that is a lot of advocacy and engagement and stakeholders conversation. And one of the products of that is the documentary we're watching today, which documents. At the end of the day, if we are not careful, all of the struggles we went through to get the act will be forgotten. And if we forget that history, we would repeat it. If we are to advocate for new bill, what do we do better? How do we get it shorter? That is what we are hoping the documentary will help us understand. And I hope that at some point when we start to watch this, we will get this message, we'll have better conversation, and then we'll celebrate ourselves tonight. Once again, thank you so much for coming. We are glad to have you. Thank you to our guests. I hope you enjoy the evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lushola. Well done to you. And I had the privilege of paying a visit to the Inclusion Hub in Lagos, and what an edifice I saw. Well, when you talk about state of the art, it's well equipped state of the art, and it's basically for persons with disabilities. And we saw persons with disabilities training in different, gaining knowledge in tech and everything you can name it. And we would say to you, well done for the job well done that you are doing in employment, in technology, and all, you name it. Thank you so much.
All right. Right now, we would like to listen and listening to the opening remarks from one of our partners that is making this event possible today. Right. We're so excited with the amazing work that we're getting done through them and with them. And so it's my pleasure this evening to invite upstage Omoji Kalu, who is
the
administrative officer of
British
the British
Council.
Council. Please let's put
Let's
our
put our
hands
hands
together
together while
for
she
her.
comes up.
Thank you very much, ma.
Don't stop clapping.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to say it off my head, just as our able host has dealt exceedingly great with his opening speech and introduction. So I'm going to read it to permit me to read my own opening remarks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all existing protocols duly observed. It is truly an honor to be here today as a representative of the British Council at the annual Disability Dialogue Series and Disability Inclusion and Leadership Awards organized by the Project Enable Africa. The annual Disability Dialogue Series, initiated in 2014, has been a pivotal platform fostering discussions among stakeholders from diverse sectors to address the challenges faced by persons with disabilities in Nigeria. This initiative aligns with the British Council's commitment to building connections, understandings, and trust between people globally. Project Enable Africa, with its commendable efforts since 2014, stands as a beacon of promoting the rights, empowerment, and social inclusion of persons with disabilities. The British Council shares Project Enable Africa's vision for an inclusive African continent where prosperity knows no barriers. For the past 5 years, our focus and support of persons living with disability and externalizing disability through inclusion. 70% of our workforce are targeted at people living with disability. We are open to partner other organizations to drive this purpose. At the British Council, we believe in the power of connections, understanding, and trust to foster peace and prosperity. Our work spans arts, culture, education, and the English language, aiming to create mutually beneficial relationships between the UK and countries worldwide. The 2022 Dial Awards, recognizing those instrumental in the enactment of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities, that's the Prohibition Act of 2019, embody the positive impact of concerted efforts in disability advocacy. These efforts resonate deeply with our shared commitment to promoting diversity, inclusion, and equal opportunities. We at the British Council are privileged to be celebrating with them in driving this policy. We would also like to hear from them on how to drive this further. As we stand at the crossroads of dialogues and recognition, let us collectively strive for a society that values diversity and inclusivity. The British Council is proud to be part of the journey, supporting initiatives that catalyze actionable solutions for a more inclusive world. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the enlightening discussions ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you very
very
much, Ma.
ma'am.
I'd like to apologize to, I missed up a title. Please pardon me. She is the British Council's Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Coordinator in Nigeria. Please let's put our hands
Put
together,
your hands together
for
for her
again.
once again.
Before we take the next one, I would like to quickly recognize all of our other guests that are seated here, and then those who will be joining us shortly. Please, wherever you are in the hall, just give us a wave and let's see you and thank you. I'd like to appreciate and welcome Ekaite Umor, the CBM Global. All right, Country Director, CBM Global. Yes. Okay. Adewale Smart Oyeride of NECA. All right, she's
there.
represented, and I'll get your name shortly. Please let's appreciate Razak Adekoya from Sight Savers. Thank you very much. Let us also appreciate Donald Unanka, who is a writer and a filmmaker. Oh, thank you very much. All right, let's appreciate Ava Akige, who is a disability rights and inclusion advocate.
Put your hands together for Ava, please. Thank you.
Uwache Simon from KFC. Thank you. KFC is
welcome.
one of our partners. Thank you for coming. I also have Andrew Mamedu, the country director for Action Aid Nigeria. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And then as we proceed, I would also recognize all of our other guests. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. And we are going to be listening. We have two keynote speakers tonight. And to bring up the first keynote speaker, I would like to read a little bit about him before he comes up. Honorable Bashiru Daudu. Honorable Bashiru Daudu currently serves as the dedicated chairman of the House Committee on Disability Matters in Nigeria. Demonstrating a robust commitment, he actively addresses the diverse needs of individuals with disabilities within the government's overarching plan. His leadership signifies a crucial step towards fostering inclusivity and advocating for the rights and well-being of people with disabilities in the country's legislative framework, reflecting a commendable dedication to social equity and acceptability. And I would like to say that since he came into that office, he's been very busy with the disability community. There is no event you will invite Honorable Dawodu to, and he will not show up. Like, he is always there. So we want to tonight welcome you up stage for the keynote speech. Keep clapping as we make welcome Honorable Dawodu.
Thank you very much, Grace. The second time I met Grace, I was in awe when I heard her sing. I'm like, when Grace was in my office, I didn't know that she's a celebrity musician. So once again, thank for the kind words. I bring you greetings from your house. I think the gentleman earlier said that all protocols are observed, but specific mention, we have the SSA to the president here. We have the ES of our commission here. And we have the representative of the CSOs in our community here. I want you to know that you are very much recognized. What I try to do everywhere I go is to give you opportunity to be conversant with what is going on in your house. Sometimes we feel so remote from what's going on in the National Assembly. And we tend to think that, well, they're just doing whatever they're doing. It's not of concern to us. But this is not true. I bring you greetings from your house. It is also important to know that your representatives are your servants. Sometimes we lose touch of that. And what does that mean? It does matter. A very good example is what has just happened with the persons with disabilities. We went to the speaker to tell him that it is not acceptable that after decades of Nigeria's parliament, that there is no sign language interpreter in the chamber. This leadership, under the speakership of Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD, approved the presence of sign language interpreter in your house for the first time. It is very pertinent to see what the theme of today's event is, which is unifying efforts of the implementation of the Disability Act, which is the short form for the Act. In order to understand this, you also need to know how the assembly works. So this is a little teachable moment. The way the National Assembly works is basically of three functions. You know, we have the Senate, and then we have the House of Representatives, which is 360 representatives, members from all over Nigeria. And the House functions by way of committees, just like our own committee now, which is we don't have a committee for disability matters in the Senate. So it governs by committees. There are three major functions. One is lawmaking, which we do by making bills that becomes the act after it's signed by the president. And that, on a little note, you will know that after advocacy from the CSOs and the persons with disability, eventually the act was signed. That's how we have the act from that process. The second way that we do in legislature is by motions. And if you have been paying attention in recent times, since we got there in the 10th Assembly, you will see that I've raised 4 motions. One was that persons with abilities should be insured with the health insurance scheme. And that passed. If you are following, we also had a motion that challenged the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs that there should be set aside for persons with disability when they are doing palliatives. The third motion was that we were compelling the Ministry of Information to do awareness on persons with disability and disability matters, because it's the first section of the Act. So that is one way that the House works. The second one is oversight. which you are going to see more of that oversight from January. The Committee of Disabilities has the mandate to oversight all MDAs. I'm going to repeat. The Committee on Disabilities has oversight function on all MDAs. So if it is the law of Nigeria that the Ministry of Information should talk about persons with disability and they're not doing that, it is our job to look into that. That is oversight. The third one is representation, which is what we're doing here today. So you can see that the folks that you have voted for, that are representing you, are doing what you send them to do there. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm everywhere, like she said, so that you can know that your government is working for you. Now, because of the fact that I would not like to belabor a lot of things, but I'm going to use this as a little teachable moment. If you are not familiar with the Act, it's downloadable. Think about the Act like your Bible or your Quran. Even though we know the Act is not perfect, but a lot of things that we need are addressed in the Act. And sometimes we don't know because we're not familiar with the Act. There's a moratorium on it, which means that after 5 years, it's implementable, it's enforceable. We do know that right now, only about 13 states have implemented the Act. But in January, the moratorium is over. And we expect enforcement to come from there. In the law, the commission is settled with, on the executive side, of implementing the Act. What does the Act say? 1, on discrimination. If you're a person with disability and somebody discriminates against you, those days are gone that you walk away. They are gone. Why? Because if that person is convicted, they are liable to sanctions, including imprisonment. Is in the law. So if you are from Lagos like me, and somebody said, you are for you, that's a violation, that's a discrimination. And that is something that is enforceable. 2, it talks about access. I'm glad that coming here, they are conforming, they are complying. But it's in the Act that it's not saying if or but, it says shall. Every person with disability must have access to every public building. So we would like to know, how does the banks expect a person with a wheelchair to enter the bank? When even someone like me, it's difficult for me to enter the bank. You're on wheelchair, how do you enter the bank? But it's in the law, not if or but, that all of us must be able to enter public buildings. So it is important to be familiar with that. It talks about transportation. We hear they are talking about they are getting buses for people. The concern for our community is that these buses that they are getting, are they accessible to persons with disability? And we are going to ask them about that. You can bet your last naira on that, on transportation. He talks about assets in roads. We want to know the kilometers of roads that are planned in trillions to build in Nigeria. Are the roads accessible? This is something that is of concern to the, and on. He talks about on section 4, C Ray Road. In 5, he talks about health and education. It is the law that persons with disability must be insured. That is why President Buhari put together what he called the Vulnerable Group Fund, which, by the way, is not funded. Which means that if you're a certified person with disability, you must be insured. That's the law of Nigeria. So, and then it sets up the commission. So, folks, our agenda in the 10th Assembly is very simple. We are going to do a lot of awareness. We are going to look into the Act in terms of the regulation of the Act, in terms of the policy. Because if you are saying someone should comply with the act, do they have the regulation of the act? So we are interested in that in the 10th Assembly. We are also interested in reenactment or amendment of the act. Why is that important? The act does not address the children with disabilities. So that's a miss there. There is not a lot of input into gender there. And so we think there should be specific line items on gender, on the women. And there should be specific line items on children. Why is that important? There's something there's a law called the Child Rights Act. In the Child Rights Act, it does not specifically address the children with disabilities. And that's of concern. In the VAP Act, which is the Violence Against Persons, it does not specifically address persons with disability. We think that if you're a perpetrator and you go and attack a girl that's on wheelchair or a girl that has Down syndrome because they know they are vulnerable, we don't think it should be the same penalty. That's why it needs to be a gap in that VAP Act. So we are going to figure out how to amend the Child Rights Act as well as the VAP Act. So that is something that we need to know. We also know that we don't have data. They tell us we're 15%, we're 30 million, we're 31 million. What is the exact number? We don't know. And they are saying they want to do census. So if you go to an environment where people are hiding their persons with disability, they don't even want the neighbors to know that they exist. How do you count those people? So we are interested in what is happening in the population commission. We're interested in what is happening in the identity management commission. We're interested in the form they're going to use for the census. We're interested in knowing whether the commission or the persons with disabilities will be involved in the census. As far as we are concerned, we think there should be a specific database for persons with disability. That's the way we feel in the community about the data. We are putting us together a bill that any law that is passed in the House must be reviewed by the Committee on Disabilities to make sure that it's an inclusive bill. That is the way we feel. We're going to link into inclusive budgeting. If you look at the budget of Nigeria and you look at the budget of Commission, which is supposed to be the Ministry for Persons with Disability, it's nothing to write home about. Because the perception is that the persons with disability are non-existent. And that narrative, we are going to change. The budget needs to be increased. We're going to put together all aspects of the Nigerian government that are into the budget. And we're going to get the civil society and our people to come and talk to them why the budget needs to be increased. So, folks, my messages. The first one is to a person with disability. Stay strong, stay up, keep hope alive. Your government is with you. Sometimes it takes long to happen. It takes baby steps to happen. But we will not leave you. We will not desert you. Well, message to the CSOs, we are very proud of you. You are picking up the slacks where the government is inadequate. You are not waiting for government to do it all like you are doing today. So you are our own hope. You are our own ray of light. As long as we have a strong CSO in our midst, we know that we're going to get to a better place. To the public, I will just lightly share a personal story before I sit down. When I was going to secondary school, it might be of interest for folks that may not be familiar that I'm a medical doctor. And I'm actually a double specialist in US that practiced for 30 years before I came back for politics. And I started in the field of pediatrics, where I know disability even starts from before conception of the baby. And as a doctor, we know that any minute, a quote and unquote able person can become a disabled person, a person with disability, from the practice of medicine. Why is this important? When I was in secondary in the school in Ogun State, Ikenne specifically, there was a gentleman then. His name is Tai Sholarin, but he was ahead of his time. He gave admission to 2 visually impaired students. And he wanted 2 students to volunteer to live with him. I was one of those students, 2 students that lived with them. So I lived with them for 5 years. So I saw it up close every day. The challenge of even using the bathroom when you don't have vision. In those days, we used to do advanced levels, physics, chemistry, biology. So I went to a school in Lagos where I'm from. It's called King's College, Lagos, where I did the advanced levels. In King's College, Lagos, I met Dr. Olabodun Oki, who was my roommate and is still my best friend. The dorm was on the first floor. Dr. Oki was born with muscular dystrophy, which means that he had trouble walking. Dr. Oki will get up 2 hours before we get up because he has to walk to class. We were there for 2 years. He did that. Both of us got admission to University of Lagos, specifically LUTH, to read medicine. The hostel in LUTH is far from where the hospital is. Nobody wanted to live with him. Talk about discrimination. Even the relatives sometimes did not want to come and see him. But this guy will wake up 3 hours before me. And then walk to the hospital side. If you are doing ward rounds like the pediatric wards, they're upstairs. So it means that he will spend like 1 hour to walk up the stairs. So he can do ward rounds. And for ladies in the house, you can imagine a medical student in a maternity clinic. And the person is a person with disability. And the consultant said he should examine you, especially for your young lady. Or you can imagine you are trying to deliver your baby, and the student is a person with disability that quote and unquote looks funny. This man or this gentleman overcame all that. So I lived with him for 5 years in the medical school, and he was one of the best graduating students of that set. But the message in that story is that, and that's for all of us, when you do inclusion, it's not a favor. Why? Dr. Oki has the biggest hospital in Badagry. And Dr. Oki has delivered thousands of babies. And Dr. Oki has taken care of more regular folks than persons with disability. So what we're doing here, it is the conscience of our soul, of our nation. And when we do it right, we're all better for it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
sir, for that inspiring address. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One of the profound things that he has said, which I think at an event yesterday he also mentioned, is the fact that the law is behind all that we're doing today. And I think that that's the essence of our gathering. If we're going to make any advancement in the implementation of the Disability Act, the law has to be with us, right? And it's also profound to note that while we are celebrating this milestone, some people are already taking the conversation to the next level. He has talked about several amendments that needs to be done. Please let us put our hands together for such commitment to this cause. We're so glad to have you. We're so glad to have you with us. Thank you very much. We're going to take another keynote address. But before that, I would also like to recognize a few of our other guests. Earlier, I mentioned that someone is representing the DG of NECA actually. Please let's put our hands together for that. NECA has been one of our partners helping us to get access to the private sector to come on board the disability inclusion journey. Please let's recognize and appreciate Judith Tiefe. Am I right? Oh, Judith Tietie, the Deputy Director of NECA Abuja. Please let's put our hands together for her. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I'd also like to make mention again, properly this time, the Country Director of Action Aid Nigeria, which is one of our significant partners here today. Andrew Mamedu. Please let's put our hands together. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. I'll also want to recognize Dr. Adebayo Adebukola, who is a member of our advisory board. Thank you very much, Dr. Adebayo. We have been together since the beginning, asking for advice and getting insight and direction from him. And also, I want to recognize a very distinguished person here today, Ene Ede, the Board of Trustees member of Jonapid. Please let's put our hands together. Thank you, Ma. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. And now we're going to take the keynote address, the second keynote address, and then we are still going to have another goodwill message from another distinguished person here today. I would like to read the profile of our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is a senior special assistant to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on disability matters. He is a distinguished champion of persons with disabilities with over a decade of experience in local and international advocacy on matters concerning persons with disability. He is a graduate of public administration with honors from the University of Maiduguri. Please, everyone here, let us appreciate and welcome as I bring up stage Honorable Mohammed Abba Isa. Please let's put our hands together and welcome us.
Put your hands together as he makes his way
Thank you very
off
much.
stage.
Thank you for being here today.
Keep clapping for him as he makes his way up. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. The chairman House Committee of Persons with Disability has already dwell and speak more about what we intend to achieve. The Executive Secretary of National Commission for Persons with Disability, in person of James Lalu, a friend of mine, a friend in struggling. The chairman, Joint National Association of Persons with Disability, Abdullah Osman Kebi, all development partners, executive directors, the staff and members of board of enabling project. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide and protect each one of you that attend to this program. Let me start with the existing protocol. Today, to me, is a historic day. Why? Because as we are commemorating International Day of Persons with Disability, who was proclaimed by United General Assembly in 1992. The purpose of the creating or giving this day to person with disability is to recognize those that they achieve in disability inclusive. And everybody has contributed immensely to the success of these acts. I'm happy I'm part of the struggle. Many of us, all of us, the development partners, I can see our mother at the back. For the past 16 years, we are struggling to see that this bill has been enacted. I remember there is a time that I have an accident when I'm coming from Yobe. CCD has to be remembered. That's his organization of David Anyele. David Anyele I'm even surprised that I did not even see him here. Why? Because we recognize him also in the part of the struggling. And this struggling has yielded a positive result. At the end of the day, the bill was enacted by the former President Muhammadu Buhari, in which he signed the bill and the commission was established. This is to tell you that the government of the day are committed to the inclusion of persons with disability. And we need to thank the effort of the National Commission for Persons with Disability under the Executive Secretary, James Lalu. In the period under review, these 3 years to 4 years, we achieved so many things in terms of inclusion, but there is need much to be done. And this is even what Gada was here. Most of the implementation and why are we intend to do after the transitory period of the 5 years is coming by January 17. And inshallah, we have martial out plan to make sure that we impose compliance. Why? Because if we look at in his determination, the president of this country, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to make sure that he bring every segment of the society within the ambit of Renew Hope agenda. That is why he appointed the senior special assistant to Mr. President in order to collaborate, to liaise, to engage with ministry, department, agency, up to the national, to make sure that the issue of persons with disability has been succeeded and implemented. Why? Because ignorance of law is not an excuse. By January 17, we are going to launch joint presidential task force committee to make sure that we make accessibility audit in all ministry department to make sure that they comply with this law and implement the policy in line with the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President. By this session, I'm assuring you, Mr. President is fully committed to support the disability inclusive development. The issue of disability is a cross-cutting issue, and for us to unify our effort, most hands must be on deck. Traditional ruler, development partners, organization.
Hello, are we back? Can you hear me now? All right. You know, one of the things we experience the most in Nigeria is network glitch. That's the slangs that you can use for free. Kotsi, if you see INEC now, you talk am or no be me talk am. Are we good? Media guys, are we good? Because I'm about to bring someone up and we can't have this happen when he is up. Okay? All right. Thank you very much. And once again, we want to appreciate the SA to the President on Disability Matters. And what a time to have an SA. Someone like our dear friend, Mr. Abba, who is very vocal. Like you would see Mr. Abba at every forum. You cannot, except you put a chain at the door. He would always appear. And what is the message? Disability issues. Mr. Abba, we wish you well, and we will all rally our support around you to make sure that that office succeeds. We want to apologize to the executive secretary. We kind of omitted his name on the agenda, the part of the goodwill. His name is actually supposed to be there. So please, if you have your pen, or if you have a lady with a handbag next to you, ask her to borrow your pen. There's a part on the agenda that says goodwill. I need you to add the name of our very dear and able executive secretary, James Lalo, to it. I want to see you do that. Unfortunately, I don't have my glasses, so I can't see you writing, but can you quickly do that on your agenda? Thank you very much. The part of the goodwill, please add Executive Secretary James Lalo's name. Now, in case you're wondering who James Lalo is, he is the Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. Mr. James David Lalo's career started in 2007 when he served as the Senior Special Assistant on Disability Affairs to the Executive Governor of Plateau State and took on increasing more senior roles within the state. In June 2020, Lalo was appointed member representing persons with disabilities in the All Progressive Congress National Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee. In August 2020, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, appointed James Lalo as the pioneer Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disability. And you all will agree with me that James Lalo has brought about some kind of revolution. He has brought about some kind of disruption to disability issues. Oga James will appear at any and every meeting, except hear about him. He will always be there. And what is the message? Disability issues. I would like to welcome upstage the Executive Secretary of the Commission for Persons with Disabilities for a goodwill message. Put your hands together, and please, we're going to do it this way. We're going to clap the deaf way as we welcome the Executive Secretary. I want to see you all do this. Oga James wants to see you all do this as we bring him up stage. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Your two hands. Your two hands.
The Honorable Chairman, House Committee on Disability, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Disability Affairs, our President, Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities. I hope my voice is very clear and that people at the back are hearing me, because I don't even hear what I am saying. The country, I could see the country director, the leprosy mission was here. Our board remember our mama. And we will continue to mark you as well, our mama. Thank you for being here. Our parents from the disability community, I can see Chief David Okon is here with us. And I can also see Elder Cosmas Okoli is also here with us. Today, all that are here with us, kindly permit me to stand on the existing protocol, please. Today is a very, very beautiful day. I want to say a very big thank you to Project Enable for being able to bring this. I want to thank Project Enable for being able to bring this, what we call a reunion evening. Most of our leaders that we might have missed contact one way or the other, but we have been missing getting ourselves in touch through phone. Today, Project Enable has been able to bring us together to see our faces again as we are rounding the year 2023 together. I want to say I am here this evening when the Project Enablement team came to meet us to discuss for the planning of this program as part of the series of activities for the celebration of the International Day for Persons with Disabilities. Over the years, I have been seeing what Project Enable have been doing. We should take this opportunity to congratulate you for the beautiful achievement as you continue to recognize efforts from the disability community and partners who continue to make a lot of sacrifices and contribution to moving disability inclusion in Nigeria annually. I want to take this opportunity to appreciate the chairman of the Committee on Disability, who has been always standing with us. His presence, the man, I can say that he is a spiritual encouragement. He provides both moral, physical, and spiritual support at all times. And I am very, very happy that in the nearest future, we are going to see the impact of this House Committee on Disability. For the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities as an institution, but to take it here, every time, everywhere, we must have to recognize the gallant effort of the disability community in pushing first for the initiation of the disability bill, pushing for the passage of the disability bill into law, and also pushing for the establishment of the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. When we look at this very, very important achievement, each and every member of the disability community, especially the leadership, you know that you are wearing what we call the spiritual crowns on your head for this maximum achievement. The spiritual crown is a crown that you may not be able to see it physically, but it is there to be recognized because of the gallantry and commitment of the disability community that have been able to bring us this far. From the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, we remain ever committed for the maximum implementation of the disability law. This year, we are rounding the 4th year of the existence of the law. Well, rounding the 5th year of the existence of the law. We are aware that on the 16th of January 2024 will mark the proper enforcement of the relevant sections of the law, sadly from section 2 to section 15. A lot need to be done. Yesterday I was in the program. We are an issue about the gap between having the law, moving from advocacy, moving from awareness creation to the actual implementation of the law. This is something that is very clear. All of us have to put our hands together to see how we can be able to move together for the proper enforcement of the provision of the law. I must also use this opportunity to recognize the effort of most of our partners who continue to provide the maximum support to the Commission. Our CBM Global is here. Site servers are also properly represented here. The leprosy mission are also here, and I can see some of them. I want to take this gallant opportunity to appreciate Mr. Razak Adekoya through the site servers who work with the Commission for a period of 2 years to be able to produce the National Accessibility Regulation, which is expected to provide the necessary guidelines, appropriate steps to be able to enforce the provisions of the law as concern access to the physical environment and access to different facilities. Therefore, time is ticking. We have to stand up to do the best we can be able to do. We shall forever remain grateful for all the support, and while we look forward to working with Project Enable going forward to do more. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please let's put our hands together for him again. One of the things that we've enjoyed over the past few years since the Disability Commission has been, instituted is in tremendous support,
Exactly.
From the ES. We are actually able to walk into his office and, meet him and have conversations and discuss our concerns. Please, let's put our hands together for having someone with such commitment, chairing and leading that commitment. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much,
sir.
Mr. Lalo.
While he was speaking, another distinguished personality walked in, and we have to recognize that and appreciate and acknowledge that. Please let us recognize, appreciate, welcome, and celebrate Honorable Kafilat Ogbara.
Put your hands together.
She is the House Committee Chair on Women Affairs and Social Development. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Thank you for coming here today. In a while, she's going to also come up and give us a goodwill address. But we are going to move on to an interesting agenda right now. And I'm going to bring up someone to, I'll be doing that. One of the important things that we're here to do today. Several years ago, some people, not necessarily collectively in the same space, in the same place, but certain individuals across different locations, different walks of life, saw the need to take the disability inclusion work in Nigeria to a new level. With those efforts, some baby steps, some giant step, some forceful steps sometimes, the journey started. And today, 5 years, almost 5 years after, we are standing here to celebrate the effort and the work of many individuals who have come together. We're here today to see the journey, to watch the journey, to listen to that journey from those who were inside the journey. We're here today to follow through the story as it evolved, the challenges, the difficulties, and the successes that we're here today. Please, everyone, we want to watch the documentary that is titled Once Upon a Disability. And the media, I hope we're ready to have that together.
Can we dim the lights?
Please, let's
Can we dim the
turn
lights?
off the lights, and then we'll take off the podium so that we can concentrate on that. Please help me put down the podium. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the important event that we are here today to witness, to watch, to premiere the Once Upon a Disability documentary. Began as a movement.
Chief Cosmas Okoli speaking.
We discussed our situation, and those of us who had the opportunity to travel abroad know what happened there. We ask ourselves, whatever you see in this developed world, somebody made it happen. Somebody pushed for it. Somebody fought for it. And so we have to fight for our own as well.
A movement that challenged the culture, stereotypes, and ideologies that would go on to affect the lives of over 30 million people.
Mrs. Rose Modi speaking.
We Africans are very, very superstitious. Before they had thought, oh, people with Down syndrome, they are demon possessed. At times they will even ask you, oh, take them to the river, go and drop them there. They will turn into snake.
Mr.
First
Jake
issue
Epele
was
speaking.
for the disability community to accept me and persons with albinism as a disability.
This is a chronicle of an 18-year-long journey embarked upon by those who dared to go against the grain till they were seen, heard, and backed by the Nigerian Constitution.
Barrister Daniel Onwe speaking.
We are no more where we used to be. Yes, there has been considerable change, at least the mindset.
Interviewed by Dolapo Abede. Tobiloba Ajayi. The people.
Barrister Daniel Onwe speaking.
I became a person with disability when I was less than 2. So I have always known the disability life. As I'll jokingly tell people that I do not miss the use of my legs because I never remembered when I was properly making use of them.
My name is Lois Auta. I grew up and found myself a polio survivor when I was 2 years old. But that did not deter me. It did not discourage me. Rather, it challenged me to become a great leader, not just a leader, but a transformational leader.
Barrister Dalami Kasharu speaking.
I became blind at the age of 3, and I was fortunate enough to be taken to school a year after. And thanks to two persons in Lagos who came around to my village to look for visually impaired persons who could be educated. And came to my father, and he showed interest, and I was taken off to Lagos.
Chief Cosmas Okoli speaking.
I was born and brought up in the village, and had my disability shortly before the Nigerian Civil War. And so it was tough. The rehabilitation my parents started, was truncated by the war. And so I abandoned my mobility aids. I was crawling on my fours. And, in the village, the transportation system is not developed, and you practically have to walk most of the time. So, and I was very, very active. I wanted to do whatever any other child did, and I was doing that, crawling on my fours, going to the bush to hunt.
I lost my two hands in Freetown, Sierra Leone, as a result of my identity as a Nigerian, and I was evacuated to Lagos. I was admitted at the Nigerian Military Hospital, Yaba, by the Nigerian Contingent of ECOMOG. So my discharge from the hospital, I was asked to go back to the society, knowing fully that I'm a soldier. My interaction with the society exposed me to what it means to have a disability, recognizing that I was once a person without disability. So I began to feel the negative impact, stigma, discrimination, isolation, all manner of stereotypes against me.
Barrister Daniel Onwe.
And then after the polio attack, I was crawling on all fours until I had a surgery. Then at Oji River in Enugu State, and then I started working with crutches. We were living in Jos then, where my dad was serving in the army. Subsequently, he was transferred to Benin, and that was when I was about school age. I mean, unfortunately, then in the barracks, there was no primary school. What was being done then was the military lorry would convey pupils from the barracks to the other barracks in town where they had a primary school. And as a person with disability, I couldn't access the lorry. So it was a no-go area for me. Yeah, but luckily for me, a school was under construction. So I had to wait till the completion and commencement of that school.
Wow.
So that was when I resumed. By the time I resumed, my mother felt that I was already too big to be in primary one. So when I came back from my first day in school, and she asked me, "In which class are you?" I said, "I was in primary one." So I know you are too big to primary one, go to primary two. So that was how I got my first promotion at home. And the next day, I showed up in primary two. And because it was, the school was still at the nascent stage, so there was actually no checks to know who should be where. So that's how I became a primary two student.
Mrs. Lois.
After growing up, and I found myself physically challenged through polio, communication started coming in between my parents, neighborhood, friends, and well-wishers. You could imagine having a child with disability out of 11 children. I was number 7, but now I'm number 3. Some of them discourage my parents. Concentrate on the able children and let her be. Why? Because they saw the disability first before my person. But my mom disagreed. She said, Let me tell you the truth. Among all my children, she's the most intelligent. And I can never leave her like that. My husband and I have agreed to send her to school. And they did.
Barrister
Of my
Danlami
mother who
Asharu.
was very keen on me going out for education. In fact, my grandmother was not in support of it at all. She said, if they couldn't look after me, she would do that gladly.
Chief Cosmas
Eventually,
Okoli speaking.
after the war, I had my rehabilitation. But I started school before my rehabilitation started. And so I started school crawling on my fours. It was tough. Sort of, the challenges you get from the village, women going to the market, seeing you on the road to school and, trying to, what do you call it? Is it pity you or empathize, and so on and so forth. So it was tough. And eventually I got the right mobility aids and appliances, continued with my education, and eventually left the village to Onitsha to Lagos.
Barrister Daniel Onwe speaking.
When I came to Lagos after my youth service, and I also identified with MADEC, being led by Chief Cosmas Okoli. And Chief Cosmas Okoli is somebody who admires competence. And so he saw me as a lawyer, my legal. So he took me on board. We started doing things together.
Chief Cosmas
The fact that
speaking.
I had people like Danlami with me, Daniel Onwe, and the later stage, yourself, and so many other very brilliant persons with disabilities. Each time we meet, we discuss our situation. And those of us who had the opportunity to travel abroad know what happened there, And so each time we discuss, we want to have, we ask ourselves, whatever you see in this developed world, somebody made it happen. Somebody pushed for it. Somebody fought for it. And so we have to fight for our own as well. And so from there, it snowballed into associations, organizations, and then activities, and so on and so forth.
I joined the group.
Barrister Danlami.
It started in about 2099, 2000. NAB, Nigeria Association of the Blind, had started it up. They had written bills and sent to the National Assembly. And through Senator Chibudam, he got all these bills and passed it to some organization to look at and help him make a decision. And that was when I came in. That was in 2000. I joined the group in 2000 with people like David Okon. There's a professor in Unilag, Professor Wally Smith, and we were involved in trying to harmonize all the bills. And we did that and passed it on to him. And unfortunately, the National Assembly passed it, but it didn't get through. That was then the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, yes. So he didn't sign on to it.
Muhammad Abba
people
Issa
that struggled
speaking.
for the establishment of National Commission for Persons with Disabilities. In the struggle, we came up through the platform of TCD, Center for Citizens with Disability. David Anyele, very strong man, very strong fighter and activist. He contributed a lot. We fought together to make him sourcing resources for USAID.
I didn't start the struggle.
David Anyele.
The struggle started as far back as 2000. I started my disability engagement in 1999. The conversation has been on as a year 2000 when the National Assembly started a full engagement. And I also was visiting National Assembly to engage with my representatives to see how I can secure Nigerian support to get rehabilitation. However, I was not involved at that level. By year 2023, the first efforts made by Senator Chris Adiyije, Honorable Chibodo Muche, couldn't bear the desired result. The first bill that was presented by at the National Assembly.
Senator Izuna
For about 19 years, it didn't work. Yeah, because there'll be one thing or the other. The bill was initially passed into law, and previous presidents will usually send it back instead of assenting to it because they don't agree with some clauses. They will send it back. And when they send it back, maybe that National Assembly would have ended. Another one will come. Another session of the assembly will come. You have to start all over again. So it took a very long time.
Then Mr. Peter Obi, who is now the presidential candidate in Nigeria, was the governor of Anambra State and was impeached. And Mr. Cosmas, being an indigene of Anambra State, was concerned. So he mobilized assent from the national executive level to Anambra State, and we went to protest in support of Mr. Peter Obi because he had a lot of programs for persons with disability in his government that we wanted him to implement that many other governors in Nigeria then were not talking about. They were not even giving us preference. But it's giving us a lot of preference. It's brought out a lot of policy. It set up an office to take care of those things before the impeachment. So we had to go and protest in his support. Fortunately, he came back, as a result of many other things. And some of those things were implemented under his regime in Anambra State. Then the other thing was the National Economic Empowerment Development Program. It was a program by the Obasanjo administration, then coordinated by the Special Advisor and Economic Advisor, was Mr. Charles Soludo. He was not yet the CBN governor then, he was a special advisor. And so the NEET document needed contributions from different strata of the society. So Ascend took it on to look at what needs to be in that document, right, and send it into that to Abuja. And we were leveraging on the relationship of Mr. Cosmas and Mr. Charles Soludo. They were from the same community in Anambra State, and they knew each other quite well. And so we did that, and we sent it to the NEET document to Abuja. And at that time, Professor Dora Akuili was one of the patrons of Ascend. Senator Bodalaji Moke was also the patron of Ascend. So they were supporting those activities. And when we concluded on the NEET documents, we felt we should work on the law, disability bill. And we had Barrister Daniel Owe on that team as well. We had a couple of other people like Mr. Ajayi, Johnson, Mr. Vitus Wanafio, quite a number of people. So we all come together, funded and supported, financially supported by Mr. Cosmas Okole and his NGO, then MADEC. So we use his office, his boardroom for our meetings, So we started looking at the American with Disability Act, the Disability Discrimination Act of UK, the United Nations Convention on Persons with Disability. As at that time, all those documents were already in use. So we put them together. Even in Kenya, there was a law that we considered. In South Africa, there was another law that we considered. So we put all those documents together. But Barrister was like the one driving it because he was the only lawyer amongst us, right? That's Barrister Daniel Owe. He was the only lawyer. So he was able to, put the right things in place for us.
Then MADEC was doing a program, and he asked me whether I could present a paper on legislation and childhood disability or thereabouts. So in the course of my research, I really discovered the absence of legislation with regards disability in Nigeria. But again, I was aware that there was a bill that was sponsored in 1999 by Chibudom Wuche. Yes, it was called the Nigerians with Disability Bill. Then, yes. So, but that bill was not assented to. So, as it's the tradition with our legislation, once that the term of that House of Assembly, the lifespan of that National Assembly ends, everything about it ends. So that was how everything about that ends. So I now saw the need for us to indeed have a legislation, and I mentioned it to Mr. Cosmas Okoli, and he really appreciated it, and now said, okay, why not go ahead and put up something, draft a bill. And I also saw the draft bill that was, yes, and it was also part of what I used in my presentation at that event. And looking at the bill, it was very skeletal, and also being a bill prepared that came from outside the disability community, it was more or less a charity, and it's a kind of placed everything under the discretion of the minister and all whatnot. So after that, so I now began the primary drafting.
I remember in 2007, we had what I would call a major stakeholders meeting at Antonio Village in Lagos, funded by Mr. Cosmas Okoli. So we had brought a lot of stakeholders, the blind, the deaf, the physically challenged, and all that, all the Spinal Cord Injury Association of Nigeria. We brought everybody together for 2 days, and we looked at the document together.
We had deliberation on that bill, making input, suggesting what should be changed and whatnot, so as to give our people ownership of the bill. So we had such stakeholders meeting, about 2 of them.
It was a lot of work. I remember when we finished that stakeholders meeting, we had to pay for barrister accommodation at that hotel for barrister Daniel Onwe and one Mr. Ajayi Johnson to stay back for 2 days, 2 more days to work on that document.
I must mention the names of these guys who really worked with me then. Because that's Johnson Ajayi and Shola Adeyefa. Yes, each of them worked with me after one of those stakeholders forum. So we spend all night at the hotel. Yes, dotting all the I's and dotting all, yes, or crossing all the T's.
And we got a document out, and it was a bill, a very solid document. And we had to go through our patron, Senator Bodola Jumoke, to submit it to the Senate.
Chief Cosmas
very good
Okoli
man
speaking
at the Senate, Senator Bodola Jumoke. He supported us both financially and personally took the bill himself, mobilized other senators, even rep members, and he did so much.
Senator Bode Olajumoke
got into the Senate, and when I got in there, I made it a task to ensure that we work on a disability bill. Right. I recall vividly that there was this lady, Baroness Linda Chalker, in the House of Commons in Britain, who simulated disability in Parliament by inviting disabled individuals to simulate one form of disability or the other. That's what I copied. And I recall a colleague of mine then, Ndoma Egba, son, so it involved me having to go around the senators to talk to them that I wanted this done. Okay. I was working on this bill, and I would want for effect to have senators simulate one form of disability or the other.
Wow.
Okay. It was amazing going around my colleagues to discover that, for example, Ndoma Egba, he said, look, distinguish, you you're not going to campaign. I have a disabled person in my family. Virtually every other person I visited was sympathetic towards that bill. And so we were able to work assiduously. I think for about 2 years in the Senate, I ensured that I went around and, worked to ensure that we have this bill.
Olushola
It was when it got to
Adeyefa.
the Senate that we now realized that Mr. Danlami Bashir, the president of JONAPID, Joint National Association of Persons with Disability, had also submitted another bill through Honorable Abikedabi Irewa. So we had one bill from Danlami Bashir, head of JONAPID, and then Cosmas Sokoli, head of ASCEND. And these were two friends, powerful leaders, veterans in our community in Nigeria. And it was a bit challenging for us to bring those bills together. But by the way, they were both pushing it. They both had the first reading in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. And it was well welcomed. And then they had the second reading. And then it got to a point where they realized that the other senators and parliamentarians involved, legislators involved, felt they need to harmonize those documents.
Senator Bode Olajimoke.
Senate alone cannot.
pass.
So there was a honorable member, Abike Dabiri, who is a prominent, citizen. I got to know she was also working on a disability bill in the House of Reps. So we had several sessions to reconcile
Both bills.
the two houses. And that was the journey.
I was one of the people,
Mrs. Rose,
who was selected to go and sit with the legislators in Abuja.
What year was this?
Sorry?
What year was it?
Oh, now you ask me.
Early
You are
2000s.
dealing, not early 2000, I think mid 2008, if I'm not mistaken, when it started. I think it was the first term of the Jonathan administration, when we had sat with them before and started putting all the acts in place. We were invited to come to Abuja. By that time, the lower house has already done the work. They were about getting the upper house also to sit and harmonize it. That was the time that I brought it up to tell them that they had not even included people with intellectual disability.
Oh, wow.
It was, they called the JONAPID. It was JONAPID that started the work, and I had been part of JONAPID over the years. And somehow, because I've been so busy, I never really sat down with them to tell them. I said, look, even within the disability community, there's still some discrimination. People with intellectual taken care of, their issues have not been properly addressed. It was right there in Abuja that they now asked us to go and form the intellectual disability cluster, which was not in existence.
The first problem I had,
Mr. Jake,
the first issue was for the disability community to accept me, and persons without ability, as a disability. From the president of the association then, JONAPID, to the list, they were busy fighting me and saying that albinism is not a disability. But I didn't allow that to deter me. I continued to push, and then I changed strategy and started pushing the United Nations. So the United Nations started capturing albinism as a disability, and so when I came here, it was a little push. We kept pushing. Recently, albinism was accepted as one of the clusters.
I was involved in making sure that the bill the right stuff got into the bill, making sure that issues of access and so on got into the bill to make sure that everything is properly harmonized. And we wanted to make sure that there was a national commission attached to the bill. And that was very, very important for us.
Olushola
Before the
Adeyefa.
harmonization, we've had a lot of push from Ascent. We had a lot of activities from Ascent, some of which were media tours. So we often visit media houses. And I'll talk about what we did in 2007, International Disability Days, December 3rd. So we had this road show from Lagos to Abuja.
We did a road show from Lagos
Cosmos.
to Abuja, visiting about 5 states and insisting that every state we went to, the governor must attend to us.
We had persons with disability driving, and we had to go, Mr. Cosmos and I had to go to the road safety sector commander in Lagos to ask for their support. So they gave us 2 vans and 8 men who, escorted us from Lagos to Abuja. And so it wasn't just a straight trip. We visited all the governors.
We had about 2 governors personally address us and host us, 3 deputy governors, and we created a lot of awareness because each state, we left here with about 70 to 100 people, but each state, yes, we had some of us who had their cars, drove their cars and all that. Each state we got to, we mobilized our people locally. They come join us and form a very formidable team. And we just get crashed into the government house, whatever. And at the gate, they would naturally stop us. Where are you going? We want to see the governor. Why you? We don't look like people who can see the governor.
What we were doing was to create awareness about the bill. So it wasn't just an advocacy visit or a courtesy visit. It was an advocacy actually for the bill for them to push. So we're submitting a copy of the bill to each of those government officials that we're meeting.
I remember one time, this was Daniel Owen, myself, and I can't even remember Donald now. It has passed through the 3rd reading, and Senator Abatimeyi, yes, if I remember, yes, very well, was pushing for us at that time. And the thing was that, it's too expensive. Where will you get the money to fund the, it's going to be coming with a commission. I said that. Everything was like too expensive. So what is less expensive in Nigeria that you're putting this kind of pressure on a law that should actually liberate and add value to the system? And we should go and do a policy brief or paper to just let them explain to him why we think this should go. I remember it was raining heavily that day. We had to go under the rain to put together a justification where we think they will get the funding from. Because the thing was about how do we fund it? So we'll show you where to get the money. So now it's coming to disability issue. You can't find the money, but you're finding money for every other thing. I mean, why did you put it below the ladder like that? So we went, and under that rain, I won't forget, Daniel Owen was on that team. We went, tried to put our papers together and give to Senator Batimeyi. Of course, that made a big ball. I remember how when it was during Jonathan's time, His Excellency, President Goodluck Jonathan, we also tried to push.
During previous administration,
Muhammad Abba Isa
spent 16 years. There is a time the bill was in the desk of the Jonathan. He just left, he didn't ascend the bill.
Danlami.
We continued fighting. It passed the game and got onto former President Goodluck Jonathan.
David Anyele.
By December 2014, the bill has been passed and transmitted to Mr. President for assent.
The disability bill passed its 2nd reading in the Nigerian Senate. The bill seeks to address challenges faced by people living with disabilities. More than a year later, the bill is yet to receive President Goodluck Jonathan's assent.
A group of PWDs went to the then President Goodluck Jonathan to campaign for him at the expense of our disability bill. They collected money, they collected all the support they wanted from the man. Unfortunately, they sold our disability bill.
it still failed.
Danlami Basharu.
So we had to continue fighting.
So what we are asking for is to see Nigerian Disability Bill being signed into law.
The bill was passed by the National Assembly twice. All of us went to Abuja. He refused to sign our bill so that our life will not be better. Is that the man you want to vote for? Don't vote for who? Don't vote for Jonathan. Vote for Buhari. President Muhammad Buhari, during the campaign, he had a meeting with the PWDs in Nasarawa State, February 2015 in Akwanga, Nasarawa State, where he promised that he would work with people with disabilities, the National Assembly, to get the disability bill passed. So we start another engagement.
Sometime, I think 2018, 2019, and I said, well, the best thing is to do a proper advocacy.
Senator Izunaso.
Now, I started the journey by meeting the Attorney General of the Federation to prepare his mind that you can never have a perfect legislation. No matter how elegant a piece of legislation is, it can't be perfect. That is why there's room for amendment at any point in time. So I now said to him, let the National Assembly pass it. You don't have to advise Mr. President that A, B, C, D, E clauses are not right. Let him assent to the law. Then when it is operational, then you will see the loopholes. Everybody will see the loopholes. Then you now bring it forward for amendment. So we can't keep amending and keep amending. Well, he bought the idea. Then I met the then Senate President, Bukola Saraki, and he agreed that the Senate will pass it within 30 days. I met the then Speaker, Yakubu Dogara. He also agreed that the House of Reps will pass it within 30 days. And within a record of 30 days, the two chambers concurred and passed it.
By January,
David Anyele.
January 16th, there is this town hall meeting organized by Kadiria Ahmed.
Kadiria Ahmed, yes.
At the National, in Abuja, at Transcorp, she invited, at Sheraton, sorry, she invited me. The first question that was asked by a person with disability.
Okay, so since we're talking about disability, there was a question asked about a bill that was transmitted to you, the disability bill, which you have not signed.
About?
The disability bill that was transmitted to you by the National Assembly and which you haven't signed. Do you want to respond to that? It was asked by a gentleman.
The person was confused. Oshibato was confused. It was there, they started arguing. They didn't know that their mic was loud when they were arguing.
There is a time that we declare the bill missing.
Muhammad Abba Isa.
Transmitted from the lower chamber to the upper chamber. They harmonize it. All necessary administrative changes that they were supposed to be advised on, we do everything. And they said that they will transmit the bill to the Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, they did not transmit it.
Injured and rehabilitation.
No, the disability bill. The one sent to the National Assembly.
Yes.
But
disability bill.
It's been sent to the president.
I think we sent to the National Assembly.
They returned it to you.
I'm not aware of that.
It's been returned.
No, even as of Wednesday, there was a demonstration in front of the National Assembly where they were saying that they were giving the National Assembly 7 days to transmit the bill to us, to the president. I'm not aware of that.
Suba just said that
David Anyele.
they are not aware that the bill has been sent to them for assent. That the last time he checked, that I led a protest march at National Assembly and I gave them 1 week ultimatum for them to pass the disability bill into law.
It is a march for freedom of persons with disability under the coalition of disability organizations. Take to the streets of Abuja to demand the transmission of the Nigeria Disability Bill.
We are asking them to transmit the disability bill
to Mr. President to sign it into law. Sir, we are giving the National Assembly 1 week between today and next week, Thursday. If the National Assembly failed to transmit the Assembly bill to Mr. President for assent, we are going to mobilize people with disabilities across Nigeria for a sit-out until the National Assembly do the needful.
We will do everything possible within the stipulated time you have given to ensure that Mr. President has a copy of this bill. And I'm very sure the President is friendly to people living with disabilities.
What happened in October, Oshibaju was saying it happened in January. That they are not aware of the disability bill being transmitted to them for assent. Kadri has said it had been transmitted, that I quoted the date. The following day, we mobilized people with disabilities across Nigeria. Being on the 17th, we moved on the road for protest march.
17th of January 2019.
Exactly.
The day before he signed the disability law, the morning, I did a press interview.
Jake Apele.
This time, the Jonapi people, in fact, waited. I did a press interview.
Jake Apele.
This time, the Jonapi people, in fact, waited for me to be part of that interview. And I looked into the camera and I said to the president, Mr. President, if you want the whole world to remember you for good, if you want to leave a legacy, if you want to win your election, this is the demography of people that you must never take for granted. Don't neglect it. Say, sign this bill today and leave an enduring legacy.
It was the 17th of January 2019.
David Anyele.
While we were on the protest, that the president signed the bill.
President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into legislation the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act 2018. The act prohibits all forms of discrimination on grounds of disability. It imposes a fine of 1 million naira for corporate entities and 100,000 naira for individuals, or 6 months imprisonment for violation of the act. The act also provides for a 5-year transitional period to remodify public buildings, structures, and automobiles to be suited to persons with disabilities, including those on wheelchairs.
It's a long journey. Nobody can say nothing like that. It's a lie. We did it. Because people play different parts at different points in time. So this will come play retreat, this will come, they were like that.
A number of civil society organizations, non-governmental organizations, international partners also played a very key role in making sure this got passed. I know the DFID, the USAID, I know the IRI, the C4C, and several other partners, PLAG and so on, all played a very vital role in making sure that the bill was passed and eventually got signed.
Now that the commission has been set up, we know that a lot of fantastic work has happened between 2020 that the commission was set up till today. The disability community, especially aligned with the law, the expectation is huge. What are the things that are already happening that the community needs to know? And then what do you see in the future for citizens with disability?
James Lalu.
Thank you so very much. I will take you a little bit backward. Establishment of this commission. We look it from the passage of the bill. We look it from the initiators of the bill. We look towards the struggle all along. When I look back, we must give credit to most of these our elders from the disability community. And we look at the impact President Lami Basharu has been able to do. Tell you that Lami Basharu remained the first person that brought me into the national coalition of the disability community in Nigeria. We will always appreciate the wonderful effort. When you look at the effort of Mr. Daniel Owe, I can still remember how these people have started this bill right from the beginning. In some of the gatherings, some of the workshops, some of the advocacy meetings that I have been invited, when I come, we see what is happening sometimes. A lot of people, when we talk to them about this bill, they will see like the disability community are only playing, but struggle, the consistency in the struggle aspect of the passage of the bill, the acceptance of the bill, and now the establishment of the National Commission for Persons with Disability. We must look back and look at these heroes and then give them the credit they so deserve. Since the establishment of the Commission, navigating a new institution to stand on its own feet has never been an easy journey. When we started, I was the only staff in the institution. Today, I can tell you happily that we have grown to over almost 150 staff. Out of the 150 staff here today, over 30% of these 150 staff are persons with disabilities. When you look at the provisions of the Section 28 and 29, mandating every government official to provide employment opportunity for persons with disabilities, we have carried our advocacy to government officials in the city of political zones. We have carried our advocacy to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, where he wholeheartedly and graciously issued a service-wide circular to all federal government agencies to comply with the 5% employment opportunity for the disability community. As I am talking to you today, almost 200 persons with disabilities have gained employment through this window. And a lot of the opportunities are coming on a daily basis. We are hoping and praying that more number of persons with disabilities will be provided employment. This is to tell you that a little progress has been made, but there are a lot of challenges that we are facing. Some of the top government officials do not believe in this. Some of the top government officials will always say that they will never do this, that they don't believe the disability community can be able to contribute or work meaningfully in their own institutions. We have initiated a lot of advocacy programs on this area, and some of them that are resisting, we are already getting ready and prepared now to carry some of them to court. What we do is, we hope and pray that the court will give us a landmark judgment in this area. As long as the law is there, we must use the court to test the veracity of that law.
It's a very good thing, a very big opportunity for citizens with disabilities in Nigeria to have a Disability Act. In another
Mrs. Lois Outer speaking
way is the implementation strategies. Does the bill comes with a budget? Does the act comes with a budget? Do we have a budget for implementation? There is a 5 years transition period, 4 years gone. We are in the last year, in 2023. How many offices, workplaces, parks and gardens, mosques, churches, schools have put in place infrastructures that accommodate persons with disabilities?
After signing it, what next? Let them begin to train the right people.
Mrs. Rose Modi.
to do what needs to be done. The act or the law must be allowed to take its full course if anybody contravenes it. But since we signed it, I haven't seen anything done, and I have heard so many sad stories.
Mohammed Abba Isa.
After the implementation, but we thank God we are coming there.
We continue to collaborate. We are the first
Jake Epele.
organization that signed an MOU with the National Commission of Persons with Disability. We have continued the collaboration, especially in this election. You notice that our organization has specific intervention that was nationwide, that was very focused, and we're also coming out with some new innovations. We're trying to push for appointed position for persons with disability across board. But it's a very strategic, intense, and intentional advocacy that will produce, by His grace, the first minister that will be a person with disability. We have produced the first governor-elect with albinism, the governor-elect of Apaigo, and he recognized that the work that we have done contributed to his success.
I need the younger ones to take up the baton.
Mrs. Rose Modi.
Getting on in age, like Senator Akerele Bokno said, he said, those of us in this age range, we are on departure lounge, and we want the younger ones now to start being the ones to take up the baton and keep the flag flying.
Let's put our hands together. I think it's quite an overwhelming moment to have watched this documentary and see the struggle and those who had fought tirelessly to bring us to this point that we are. I always used to say something during my advocacy, that I came into the struggle knowing that a lot of great leaders had started the fight. And I just came and added my own strength to it. One of the people that stood out in this video, everyone stood out, but I think one of the moments that I would say have really touched our hearts was when Barrister Dan Lami popped up. And Dr. Adelabu, is it Adelabu? When both of them popped up, I'm like, oh my goodness, these are the people who fought, and they're not even here again, to see what is happening. But just to say that they are cheering every one of us on, every disability leader in the room, they are still cheering us on to continue with the struggle until we get to that desired end that we want to see, an all-inclusive Nigeria, where every provision of the act is implemented. I'm going to ask us to please arise for those who can. Me and Dr. Adelabu, to just, in our heart of hearts, to say thank you to them, to also remember their families. These are people who have sacrificed a lot, traveled far and wide, just to push for disability issues in Nigeria. 1 minute silence. And may the souls of this faithful departed, may they continue to rest in peace as we continue with the struggle. Amen. While we're taking our seats, I need us to also celebrate people like Cosmos Okoli, Let me name them. Let me list them first, and then we can all clap. Thank you. Cosmos Sokoli, David Danieli, Madam Ekaite Umor, Barrister Onwe, Lois Alta, J.K. Pele. I'm trying to remember the pictures I saw. I saw Toby Loba Ajayi. She was on the other side of the camera. People who have fought tirelessly. This is a long list. I can't take everybody's name. But then just to say that these are the people. And myself, Grace Jerry, I didn't see myself on that documentary. But I would say that we are the ones that the baton are being passed on to continue with the struggle. Just put your hands together and celebrate these people. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to call the night is fast spent already, but please don't go. There is food. And I tell you, the food, it smells delicious. And I know it tastes delicious. So please don't go. And it's Friday, so you can just go home and sleep. The night is still young. But quickly, I just want to bring up stage for just graciously 1-2 minutes. Honorable Kafilat Obara. She is a Nigerian entrepreneur and politician who is serving in the 10th and current House of Representatives. Her bio is a little bit lengthy, very, very powerful, very beautiful. But for sake of time, I'm not going to read all. But put your hands together as I welcome her to just give us a quick goodwill message. And then we bring everyone up for the panel. Please take your place up stage. Keep clapping for her as she makes her way up the stage. One of the things that I know that women, when you clap and you cheer for them, their steps are a lot faster, a lot more gracious. All right? Thank you so much. Honorable. She's
Good evening,
the chairman,
everybody.
Committee Women Affairs.
All protocol duly extended. I'm sorry for coming late. It's not in my character to get to events late. I will not be going through the protocol because I came late, but I would like to recognize my honorable colleague here present, Honorable Bashir Daudu, who is the chairman, House Committee on Disability Matters. Good evening. This invitation is deeply appreciated. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all today. The 8th Disability Dialogue event is appropriate and necessary in fostering the ideals of equity and fairness for persons with disability in our governance structure and other aspects of our existence. I want to commend the leadership and the entire team for creating a platform that brings people and key stakeholders together that are important for the rights of people with disabilities in Nigeria. Country, vice president, a minister, your governor, whatever you are, a member, you can be a person that will live with disability the next minute. This is a fact and it's a reality. So whatever government is doing for people living with disability is not as if they are doing us a favor. The government will not, it's a right that has to be done. It's in the interest of everybody. It's in the interest of the nation. Even if you don't have any eventuality, you don't have an accident, you don't have anything that will cause you to be disabled. Old age alone can disable you. You can become a person that will live with disability. So there's no excuse, there's no reason for government not to ensure that all the provisions in the Act become, implemented. But I want to say that persons living with disability, Nigeria is grappling with inclusion of persons living with disability, where issues of governance and leadership is concerned. Persons living with disability continue to face systemic discrimination and barriers that restrict their meaningful inclusion in all areas of the society. So in my view today, it's an opportunity for us to pause and look at what has been achieved, what is left to do, so that we can move forward. My very first motion in the House of Representatives, we were sworn in June 13th, and in July, I moved a motion to ensure the implementation and the enforcement of provisions of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act 2018. Our goal is a Nigeria of equality, a country where everyone can enjoy the same rights and opportunities, where we are all equal with all our differences, a country where we can all be united in our diversity. In my motion as well, I said that persons with disabilities are holders of human rights, and it is the duty of government to ensure that these rights are respected, protected, and fulfilled. I also urged that 10% of appointive positions for physically challenged persons in Nigeria should be reserved. I also urged the Secretary to the Government of Federation to, as a matter of urgency, direct the Head of Service and the Federation and all other federal government ministries, departments, and agencies, and even companies to adhere strictly with the provisions of the Section 29 of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act 2018 by providing 10% of jobs available for people living with disability, and mandate public service matters, federal character, and legislative compliance when constituted to ensure compliance. Now we have a chairman on disability matters. My brother, it's up to you and I am not saying because I'm now Women Affairs. We also face, the problem of inclusivity. So I want to urge us to work together to, support our brothers and sisters to ensure that these provisions are properly implemented. And I hope that the outcome of this motion will lead to a paradigm shift from the current state of affairs in our democratic processes and governance structure, where persons with disabilities are struggling to be recognized and included. It is time for us to walk the talk. A lot has been said, and a lot more will still be said. And I hope that by the end of the 10th National Assembly, myself, my committee, and the Committee on Disability Matters would have achieved a lot through legislative interventions to ensure that a lot of these, provisions are properly implemented. I wish you a lovely evening. Enjoy your meal. Thank you very much for listening. God bless Nigeria.
Please put our hands together. Thank you so much, ma'am. The great work you're doing, and to say that we're ready to work with you in this next phase that we have gotten into. Thank you so much. And for the next segment of tonight, I would like to quickly bring up stage. We're having a plenary session, and please, it's not the usual plenary session. It's not going to be academia. It's going to be from the experience angle sharing. Yes, so you will not be bored, I guarantee you that. So quickly to call up stage. And I promise you, the moderator told me she's going to speak, she's going to make sure that the panel is less than 15 minutes. Okay? All right, so let's welcome on upstage the moderator, Dolapo Agbede, a disability inclusion advisor. Please put your hands together for her as she makes her way up. The more you clap, the more elegant her work is. All right. And I'm also going to call up stage Mr. Alhaji Aliyu Abdullahi Usman. He is the president of the Joint Association of Persons with Disabilities. Keep clapping as he walks majestically, alhajically, upstage. Join me as I also welcome our Executive Secretary, Honorable James Lalu, to join the panelists upstage. You see there already? I just saw James Lalo like in seconds. All right, then. Thank you very much. So someone can help guide him upstage. All right. And also our inclusion mama, Madam Ekaite Umor, who is the country director, CBN Global. Put your hands together for her as she walks majestically upstage. Then, Monikoko, you want to guide her to the stage? Put your hands together for our executive secretary, already making his way upstage. And last but not the least, if you look in this room, I think the only person who is still marking the 16 days of activism, the only person with a touch of orange. I haven't seen others, like I can't see so much, but his orange is so popping, commemorating the 16 days of activism. Let us welcome upstage Mr. Andrew Mamedu, the country director, Action Aid. Put your hands together for him as he walks majestically to the stage. Thank you so much for sitting graciously through this event. You can take this part. Yes. All right. So our moderator for this event is going to be Miss Dolapo. Do you need another microphone? Do you want to test your mic? Test is working?
Mic check.
Testing. It work.
All right. Thank you very much. Once again, put your hands together for our panelists. And I'm going to ask the ushers, some of our panelists have gone up stage to speak so that their food doesn't get cold. Can something be done? Can it be taken out and kept warm for them until they're down from the stage? Please do that. Dolapo, take.
Thank you so much, Grace. And welcome everyone to this agenda setting panel. I think we will all agree that there has been a lot of cheap talk and there has been a lot of talk indeed. And on this panel, we have people who can help us set direction. It's already been covered that in less than 59 days, and we will be counting down. In 59 days' time, there will be no excuse for the federal government of Nigeria not to keep faith with its citizens with disability. What will be coming from this panel to our distinguished audience will be first, from the positions in which we sit. We want to hear what the plans are in the next 59 days and beyond when the 5-year moratorium period is over. We are going to do it starting from my president at JONAPID. We will move to the ES. We will move to Mr. Andrew, and we'll come to you, Madam Ekaite. Then I will be asking again from this panel that we do not want cheap or long talk from. What is the one thing you're going to commit to making sure the citizens not only know tonight, but we can hold you accountable to? And that's what we're going to do. So my president at JONAPID, sir, in 59 days, no more excuses from the government to us, the citizens. But at JONAPID, how are we getting ready to make sure that the theme which we have started today, which is unifying all efforts for the implementation of the discrimination against, of the prohibition against the discrimination against citizens with disability, how is JONAPID getting ready, sir?
Thank you so much. As you rightly said, JONAPID is ready to see that the right of person with disability is protected. And in this view, the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability, or I would say the disabled community of Nigeria entirely, we are looking for, maybe if I will summarize what I would say, we are looking for 3 things. Number one, we are looking for a cross-sectional compliance. What I mean by a cross-sectional compliance, I want a situation whereby the right of person with disability in all the corner and the angle being protected. This time for the past 5 years, we are not thinking that maybe some organization, as a government agency or any organization, will be thinking that maybe they are not aware. Maybe some section will start saying they are not aware of the right of person with disability. It needs to be protected. So first of all, what we want to see or what we want to hear is to make sure that all the sector, every corner of the and the angle, the right of person with disability is fully protected. This is number one. Number two, maybe after January, we are looking for database gatherings of persons with disability, which by God's grace, next year, the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability is going to launch what we call a Jonapedia app. It is already designed, and presently we start collecting data gradually from our local government chapters, because as we all know, Jonapit has branching in 774 local government of the Federation. So our next step is to make sure that we have a comprehensive data of persons with disability in Nigeria. Lastly, we also want to see the coordination of OPDs, of the organization of an organization for persons with disability in Nigeria, to collectively demand our accountability. So this is the 3 things we are looking for, and we pray by next year we'll see all this in a life. Thank you.
Thank you, my president, sir. So, sorry. Thank you so much, my president. Yes, now that the commission is in place, 59 days, by tomorrow it will be 58. What are you doing to make sure promises given to citizens with disability, no story, 59 days, 58 days and beyond, sir? What needs to happen? I can't see what's going on.
Thank you so very much. I think, just as you rightly said, the time is ticking. And now that the enforcement is expected to commence forcefully, the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities is very, very well prepared. We have already established the offices at the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense. Our partnership with them also established the state offices for this organization. The National Desk office is already located in our office. About 13 of these officers have already been posted to the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Okay.
We have established a similar desk office with the Nigeria Police. We are expected to soon come up with the enforcement team. The National Assembly is also part of our plan for the enforcement team. We have the Chairman House Committee on Disability will also be at the enforcement team. We have already established compliance and enforcement department. It is headed by one of us, a person with a disability. And therefore, immediately as we enter next year, this enforcement team are expected to commence work immediately. What we do, we already have the National Accessibility Regulation already on ground. And the National Accessibility Regulation, when you look at it,
it already empowered the commission with the power to seal buildings. And therefore, once buildings are not accessible for persons with disabilities, these buildings are going to be sealed. Our collaboration also with different Nigerian universities as well will see us review a lot of curriculum like architects, civil engineering, quantity surveyors, and others within the construction industry. Our commitment is to make sure that we review this. We have already established a very strong partnership with the CBM, and CBM has already pledged that immediately next year they are going to bring accessibility experts. These accessibility experts are coming to come and help us to develop a specific curriculum for an accessibility engineering course in our Nigerian universities. I think based on our discussion, the Federal University Lafia, University of Calabar, Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Auka, the University of Jos, and then the Utuma Danfodio University. These universities have indicated strong interest to start this accessibility engineering course in their respective universities.
Fantastic.
One thing that is very, very important for us here is we are focused to see how we can be able to produce accessibility independent consultants in Nigeria. What here is when you look around, universities, and in any meeting you have with them, once you talk about accessibility, the first thing that comes to their mind is RAM. RAM is not the only thing when we talk about disability, accessibility for persons with disabilities. And therefore, we have to make sure that we make the necessary inroad into these universities to be able to produce the professionals. Additionally, the regulation also provides periodic quarterly training. Now, all government contractors are supposed to be trained. Now, the regulation provides the provision of what we call the Accessibility Compliance Certificate and Disability Compliance Certificate. These are two things. And now, as we enter 2024, right from January, no company is expected to bid for any government contract unless you acquire the Accessibility Compliance Certificate and as well the Disability Compliance Certificate. So unless you have this before the Bureau for Public Procurement can issue you the annual certificate. So before you acquire this, the condition is that the professionals in that your company must have to undergo the training. The National Commission for Persons with Disabilities is empowered to provide this training. This training will commence in the 6 political zones. We have already concluded discussion with some tertiary institutions that are expected to host this training in the tertiary institutions, while the Commission provides the certificate for this training. And therefore, when we look around this, I wish to use this opportunity to call on persons with disabilities who have some experience and skills in the area of accessibility to please, from now, start registering your consultancy companies.
Thank you very
Immediately
much.
when you register your consultancy companies, you bring it to the commission. The commission will now license the consultancy companies. These consultancy companies, we can continue to recommend them to different government institutions that are expected to provide contracts. Now, based on the provisions of this regulation, each government institution that is expected to provide contracts for the mass building of anything, you must have to hire an independent accessibility consultant. The accessibility consultant is expected to provide the necessary advice right from the design of the building to laying of foundation up to completion of the building, so that at the end of it, before that building will be certified as an accessibility compliant building, then the certificate will be issued to that building, and that certificate will be placed on the building. The certificate is expected to expire after every 5 years, because it will be reviewed to see whether the accessibility facilities fitted in this building are properly being maintained. So when you look around this, there is a lot of opportunities in the accessibility industry that are happening today, and therefore we must use this opportunity to tap into this and make sure that all of us contribute in making Nigeria an accessible country for each and every citizen. So we look forward to working together with all stakeholders. Join National Association of Persons with Disabilities and all our cluster associations are part of our major stakeholders. We respect them for that, and we wish that they will help us. As the General President is saying, they will soon launch an application. We want to be hearing the voices from the rural communities. We want to be hearing what is truly happening, because at the Commission, our eyes can never be everywhere. Our eyes can never be everywhere. All of us as stakeholders must use the opportunity to complain, must use the opportunity to raise issues. The Commission have already launched an application into your Android phone or iPhone. When you go in, you go and click search into your market, then you will find NCPW. It is an application on your Android phone. Download it. Use the opportunity to report any cases of discrimination, whatever it is that have to do with accessibility. I can assure you that the Commission will rise up, and we are going to do our best to tackle that issue. We look forward to transforming Nigeria together. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear sir. And thank you for the tips you've given on the available apps. And then we, on our own side, we need to participate. I'll come to you, Mr. Andrew. In line with the theme, we're unifying all efforts. And of course, the effort that ActionAid as an organization, amongst other leading organizations, have championed through the Situation Room over the years. 59 days today, 58 days tomorrow, 57 days next tomorrow. We're counting down. Sir, based on the work that is being done from your office and the Situation Room, what can we expect, us citizens with disability, that you and the rest of the coalition in that space, what should we look forward to?
Thank you very much, Delakbo, and thank you to the organizers of this event for inviting us. We are always happy and proud to work with the community. We identify with this community. So for us, days, the first thing would be self-reflection. So let's look at internally. What do we need to do as ActionAid between now and the end of the 58 days? And that would include, are there actions that we can take internally for our policies? I'll tell you why. Currently, we are reviewing our policies internally. We are developing a new strategy, and the strategy is going to be bold and big, which by that period, the strategy frame should have been almost ready. So internally, we're going to look at what we would do as an organization to look at how the moratorium period that we are ending, how the implementation phase, the next phase is going to kick in. In terms of externally, for the next 58 days, so one of the things that was very clear, the president presented the budget yesterday. So my team have started doing analysis of the budget. So one of the clear-cut criteria that we are looking at is the area of persons with disability. How inclusive is the budget? And clearly, I think it's significant that the next year's budget should be heavy on areas of implementation. So there's no more excuse. So all the excuse period is now over. So it is now, you don't have any excuse to say, oh, we don't have budget. So if there's no more excuse, that means that by February, the budget should be very clear around how you are responding to inclusivity for persons with disability. So we're happy that the House Committee Chair on Disability is here. We're happy that the Women Committee Chair is also here. So as ActionAid, we will be looking at the review of this budget. We'll be looking at working with this committee and working across board. So not just this committee, but working across board to see how these issues will be mainstreamed into the budget. Not just the national budget, but also looking at the relevant states where budgets, of course, will be railed out and approved between now and that period. How do we make sure that they are all inclusive? So I think those are the things that we will be doing for now. Finally, it's the issue of within the civil society space. So ActionAid sits in the steering committee of the Situation Room, and over the years we have pushed the issue of inclusiveness for persons with disability within the Situation Room. We don't have any election between now and the next 58 days. We know that, but there are cases in courts. There are issues that are still emerging that, of course, that reflect persons with disability. So that community, the Situation Room, we would keep engaging and reinforcing the reason why every member of Situation Room must ask questions, take it back to the organization individually, and also push it at the various states where they are working. So for us, those are the three areas we can focus on between now and the next 58 days when the moratorium period would have been over.
Thank you so much, Mr. Andrew. And so I come to Madam Ekaite. The triple jeopardy of being a woman with a disability in Nigeria. A citizen who is underserved, almost without rights, but with a very strong, undeniable size of 50% of the population. From where you sit, as a woman with a disability yourself, as a leader in the organization through which you serve, 59 days today, 58 by tomorrow, 57 by next tomorrow, and counting down. What is your word to the citizens with disabilities in Nigeria from your unique lens, ma'am? Is it working? Okay. Am I heard?
Okay. Is it working now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you, ma'am.
It wasn't working. All right. Thank you so much for asking. Everyone is reflecting now, but as you were asking the question to other panelists, I was just reflecting, thinking, we have a law, and I know this law would have come with an implementation framework. It wasn't as if we just had a law, went to sleep, and we start counting year 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so we want to enforce. So my reflection would be, let's go back to the implementation framework. What was it we said we were going to do? How are we working progressively towards the end of this 5 years window of opportunity, at the window of grace? Where are we now across sector? What intentional action did we take to ensuring that we work closely, knowing that this time would come? So let's just go back and reflect. I want to join my voice with that of Andrew to say reflection. Let's begin to reflect. So where are we now? Where did we miss it and all of that? And if you asked me about the law, 59 days to go, you'd recall that we're all screaming and the gender aspect was missing in the law. Mm-hmm. So I'm even looking forward to a review where we have used the gender lens. But however, in the course of implementation itself, there's how we can bring those components into it to driving the implementation itself. So let's take it sector by sector. And if we took it sector by sector, using the gender lens, I'll be wondering, so what is it in it for me as a woman with disability? First of all, 58 days to go. I want to believe that we have popularized enough the content of the law. And how much do we know and how much do we want to run with it? Which components are we driving, and what are the gender lens that we'll be using to drive the law at itself? I would ask that, I think the ES spoke about it. We have a team, an enforcement team, to go around and do a kind of mapping to understand how people are also reflecting on these 58 days to go, to see what level of work that's been done and what more needs to be done 58 days to go. Let's even, on the side of the government, if we were expecting that in the next 58 days, all buildings will be accessible, what did we do to give incentives, or what is the private sector doing to ensuring that that accessibility did occur? Because this has this business component.
Yeah.
What was the conversation? How often have we met to say 58 days to go, these are the incentives we can give, and this is how we can go? For us, as a woman with disability, I'm from CBM Global. I'm hoping that we shall begin to engage the House Committee. The chairman is here, is always present everywhere. And I'm happy to see the Honorable Madam, who is also chair of Women Affairs, to begin to, committee on the House, to begin to engage. We must all be on the same page when we begin to talk about disability inclusion. It appears to me there are different schools of thought that we are running with, that we are not all banned. So let's come together for a reflection. It could be a kind of knowledge updates. It could be a kind of conversation that will push all of us or to be on our feet or use our brains to drive the process. Let's go back and redesign collectively as a community to say 58 days to go, what do we do? So it's not going to be just one person sitting, I'm waiting for the last 58 days, I'll carry my gun and my cutlass and say, you are not accessible, you are not accessible. I don't think that will really work. Let's call a meeting.
Yes.
Let's see what people are doing. And at that point, we can take it step by step. Collectively, we can design an action to driving this in the next 58 days. Of course, whatever action we'll be doing, the gender lens will come in there. And I want to see my visibility and my conversation in those actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So to my esteemed audience, your comments, your questions are welcome. But as we all know, time is fast spent. Kindly note them down and pass them to the ushers. A quick recap of the agenda setting that we've just highlighted from the desk of the president of JONAPID is that every nook and cranny of Nigeria, the voices of our citizens must be heard. He has mentioned that we are present across all local governments, 774, sir. Yes.
Cosmas Okole want to ask question. No? Cosmas Okole is here, I want to ask question.
Yes, they need to write it down and submit. They need to write it and submit while I recap. Thank you, my ES, sir. Yes, we're in 774 local government areas, so nobody has a reason not to actually show up and participate. From the desk of the executive secretary of the commission, a lot of work has already been done. In fact, they have created compliance opportunities for us, citizens with disabilities, to participate. We are encouraged to come and get certified so that we will be part of compliance teams, and that will aid our productivity. He mentioned the apps that we can leverage. From the situation room and other partners who are making sure that the accountability part is up front and center, tracking what is going on with the budgeting, making sure that promises are kept based on financial Ekaite, from the multiple lenses, we need to reflect. We don't need to just wait to come and arrest people. We need to offer solutions and participate in making sure that we're not just counting down to see how we exploit, but we're part of putting the solution in place. What I will ask my esteemed agenda setting panel, and in the order of Madam Ekaite first, then Mr. Andrew, then the ES, and my Mr. President, what one thing over the next 365 days should we look out for from your desk? Madam Ekaite, ma'am.
Okay. What did she say from my desk? Okay, so Okay, if I heard you right, one commitment from our side, we are hoping to engage the chair of the House, chair on disability on the House, from the House Committee, from the House of Reps, the chair, to engage, to start a conversation, to see how we can use the legislative lens to push all that is happening and to have some kinds of, not really training, a conversation so that we can all collectively design to seek collaboration on
together.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Andrew, sir, one thing over the next 365 days.
Okay, thank you very much. ActionAid, the new agenda we are setting internally is we are targeting to contribute to getting 500,000 persons out of poverty every year. So next year we have a target of 500,000 persons. Which is 15%.
Okay.
So I'm happy that Dolakwa sits in the board of ActionAid. So, so she should be able to hold me as the country director accountable for this. Of course, that means we'll be working closely with the various government agencies responsible for poverty eradication. And
But I'm giving me because that one is too much. Oh? Yes. Our planning for the next 365 days. There is something that we can do a lot. Area of education. We are committed to providing more scholarship to persons with disabilities. We don't believe that persons with disabilities should go and get that student loan. Because providing the student loan for persons with disabilities is another burden. Because when you look around this issue of student loan issue, a person with a disability, you will require assistive devices in the school. This student union loan does not cover.
Tech support, please.
And therefore, when you look around this issue, the burden for a student with a disability is too much. And then when with disabilities who truly need it. Additionally, provision of assistive devices is another very, very important area. We believe that where we continue to advocate for job placement for persons with disabilities, especially in the private sector, we have to provide some to this private sector before they employ persons with disabilities. We have to provide all of these assistive technologies for persons with disabilities who have been employed there. Several from MTN and different other organizations, including Access Bank, who continue to have interest in providing employment for persons with disabilities. We need to stimulate them, provide these assistive devices for the workers so that they can be able to do more. The area of empowerment, again, as I told you, I said my own is too much. In the area of empowerment, again, this year we have already started. We gave it a POS machine to a lot of persons with disabilities. We are expected to expand this. Financial capacity for the disability community in the rural areas is very important and key. We have already started mobilizing some of them to benefit from Bank of Industry loan, which is expected to have a maximum of 10 million naira, minimum of 1 million naira for them without collateral. The Bank of Industry have already set up that facility. We will expand this and expand this and expand this with the disability community. These are some few things. You can hold me accountable for them in the next 365 days. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My president, we are your citizens. You represent us. You have proven to be progressive so far. What can we hold you accountable for over the next 365 days, sir?
Well, in our side, what we think we are planning to do is to make sure that we work with each and everybody, more especially organization of persons with disability, organization for persons with disability, National Commission for Persons with Disability, Chairman House Committee for Persons with Disability, other NGOs, to make sure that we see the development of our community, as well as also we promise to make sure that with the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability, we give technical support for any given organization who need technical support, and also to make sure that we give awareness to the grassroots members.
Panel have made commitments. They've shared what is going on. They've said we can hold them accountable. To the Project Enable team, we will curate the promises on this panel and we will track them. And it will be interesting to see where all these leaders are in the next 362 days. On this note, I would like you to please join me to applaud the panel. Okay. And please, I would ask the panel to please all rise for us to take the picture as we close this panel. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. Thank you for the, please remain on the stage, panelists. We have a token of appreciation to give everybody. And I'm going to quickly invite our honorable chairs, the House Committee Chair on Disability Matter and the Chair on Women Affairs and Social Development to join our panelists on stage. Please put your hands together for them. Sorry. I guess we are all busy eating, so that is fine. Thank you so much for joining, for attending the event today. I'm going to ask us to move towards this side so that we can be on the stage. Okay. All right. No, it's too far. Please, let's move towards this side. Okay, yeah, I think she can stay there. Yes. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. So we have this little token of appreciation to all of you. Thank you so much for coming. Please put your hands together for them. We hope this will stay in your office and you remember our work.
$.
All right, we are going to use that opportunity to take a photo session, and then would say thank you to our panelists. After this, we'll go straight to the first. I'm going to invite the DG. Yeah, we have the DG of NECA also represented. I'm not sure if we mentioned that earlier. Thank you so much to NECA, the Nigeria Employment Consultative Association. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to quickly invite British Council representative, Madam Omoji, to also join us quickly. Please put your hands together for her. She would come to this side and join us. You made an inclusive impact. Thank you so much. All right, 2 photo sessions. The first one, I think, is the other parts we are starting with. Yes. All right, thank you so much. I'm going to ask the two chairs to please remain so that you can help us present the award while we ask our panelists to take their seats. Thank you. Madam Ekaite, please wait. The ES, please wait so that we can just present the Dial Awards to you right away. Thank you so much. All right. So while Madam Ekaite is here, before she leaves, at this point we're going to start to present the Disability Inclusion and Leadership Awards. And just because she's on stage at this time, I'm going to invite her over to be the recipient of the first award tonight. The award says, from Project Enable Africa, for your invaluable contribution towards the Nigeria Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act 2019. Thank you so much for the role you played and your contribution. All right. The second recognition and award goes to the Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Persons with Disability. While he's on stage, we are going to present that quickly. For his invaluable contribution towards the implementation of the bill, of the acts, especially as the first years of the commission. Thank you so much, sir. And then while we still have the two chairs here, we are going to go straight to present the Lifetime Achievement Award, which is a posthumous award, to Barrister Bashiru Danlami. And we have here today to receive the award on behalf of his family, his daughter, who has joined us from Lagos. Please put your hands together for him. Aliyah Bashiru. So this says, Lifetime Posthumous Awards in recognition of his enormous work and advocacy during the efforts of passing the bill, the Disability Act. All right, thank you. We're going to take a pause on the awards. Thank you so much, sir. And while we serve our refreshments, we have a second quick panel, particularly talking about accessing job opportunities, economic opportunity in the tech and media sector, the gig sector. And to moderate that panel, we're going to invite on stage advisor for economic government. Please join me in welcoming Razak Adekoya on stage for a second quick panel while we have our refreshments, and then we'll come back to the second rounds of awards. All right, there are two people joining him on this 10 minutes long panel. First is Donald Unanka, who is a writer and filmmaker. Please, let's welcome Donald to the stage. And second, we have Ava Akiga, the CEO of Ava Reality Limited. Let's also welcome her to the stage. So Razak is going to be engaging the two of them in the conversation around job access, especially in the gig economy.
All right, thank you all. And I think I should use this opportunity to say congratulations to the awardees, particularly I will start with Madam Ekaite and ES for that, and the Lifetime Award to Barrister Dalemi. Having said that, I think a lot of us are eating, and it's also important we kind of get their attention. So if you are here, even though you are eating, can you help me say hi? Let's follow the chamber approach. Can you say hi? Okay. No, Neil. All right. You will all agree with me that the creative industry, it's one of the biggest industry that creates employment. According to the Central Bank and the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the data we do have is that the creative industry by 2015 would be about $15 billion in terms of the worth to economy. The question is, are people with disabilities participating, considering that we said unemployment in Nigeria for persons with disabilities is about 65.2%. How do we bridge that gap? Looking at the creative industry and the tech industry. So I have my two panelists, members who are seated to my left, and I'll be asking them some series of questions on how we could take advantage of that economy, of that sector. Let me start with you, Donald, particularly. I know you've been working in this space for a while. And my first question is, are there opportunities in the creative industry for people with disabilities? If yes, what are those opportunities?
Okay, so thank you very much, Razak. First, when we started our work in the creative industry, we discovered that there was nothing for persons with disabilities, but we were inspired by the exploits of people like the Cobhams, Asukwas of this world, the Yinka Ayefele, Yinka Shonibare in UK, that is doing a lot of exploit in the international art and creative industry. So the first thing we did was to kind of engage the communities in the entire, the stakeholders in the community, in the entire art and creative industry ecosystem. And I would tell that there are a lot of opportunities in the industry. First, the value chain is very, very large. And it has potential to lift millions of persons with disabilities, out of poverty. And already persons with disabilities are already doing a lot of work in the creative industry, the art and the creative industry. So we first of all developed a policy brief that will guide and also will help us engage the stakeholders. Because again, issue of job creation and inclusion of persons with disabilities in the creative industry is a problem that is also part of a larger problem in the creative industry. First, I have to tell you that the creative industry evolved by itself. And it's just recently that a lot of investments are beginning to come into the creative industry. So we developed a policy brief that will serve as a guide for stakeholders, that will help in mainstreaming issues of persons with disabilities in the creative industry. And recently, we developed a mobile app that is to create also to become owners and creative industry businesses. And the app will also help them to target markets around the world that have to do with creative industry. So there's a lot of things that is already ongoing right now in the creative industry, and persons with disabilities will benefit a lot from it.
Thank you very much, Donald. I think we would come back to that particular mobile app, and I think the audience, it would be good if you can help us pay a bit of attention to the conversation. Yep, and maybe if we take it to you, Ave. I know you've been producing a couple of short movie clips recently on YouTube, using that platform to kind of create narratives. And for many of you who are listening, you all agree with me that part of the things we see in our Nigerian movies and comedy today are people imitating people with disability, right? We see a couple of times people imitating like they have intellectual disability and all sorts of that. How do we stop this? What are you doing with the movie industry, for example, in your own little space? And what are the kind of barriers that are in that sector?
Okay, so before now, I wanted to be an actress, and after school, I've approached like some of the movie directors who make movies and produce movies, and the response I got from them was not encouraging at all. One of the response was like getting a real person with disability on set is very expensive and it's time wasting. They gave me an example, for instance, like they want to get a wheelchair person on set. Before the person gets to wherever he or she is coming from to meet them on set, a lot of time has passed. So the answers were not encouraging at all. And I told myself that, okay, I have a passion for acting. And because of producers who don't want to do the right things, I will not let my dream go down. And aside that, again, I'm a woman with disabilities. We have a lot of challenges that we are facing as women with disabilities. And I am in position to tell the story just the way it is. Just like you rightly said, what we watch in our movies are things that people imitate, persons with disabilities, which is not right. We are persons with disabilities in the community, and we are capable to act our stories by ourselves. And that was the dream behind me going into acting. And talking about the platform I use in projecting these stories, you know that getting a film out there on the cinema is not something of one era. So as a person with disability who has limited resources, I took advantage of the social media, which are different platforms. You have the YouTube, you have the TikTok, you have the Facebook, you have the WhatsApp. There are a lot of social media platforms there. So I took advantage of it to be projecting my work with the intention that someday, somehow, somewhere, somebody will watch these stories and will be touched and will want to invest in producing more of stories of persons with disabilities, not just women with disabilities, but persons with disability at large. And then, to be honest, there are a lot of challenges there. There are a lot of challenges there. The little time I've started with some of the actors and actresses who are persons with disabilities, yes, it is challenging for them coming on set, them meeting me where we are having a shoot. But that does not mean that it's not something that is achievable. Definitely, if we give our time and our resources in, we can do it. We have watched a documentary which took like 18, 19 years before getting the Disability Act done. That was a lot of hard work and dedication. And I believe that if the disability community put their mind into projecting their stories into short films, long films, it's something that we can achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But if I could come to you, Donald, while I move around, where do we see laws the Disability Act today, where do we see it playing a role in strengthening or creating opportunities or helping us to remove barriers within the tech and the creative industry?
Yes, I think the disability law will help in kind of creating a regulatory environment and a regulatory and governance environment that will guide and make sure that the stakeholders in the entire value chain, adhere strictly to, disability inclusion. I'll give you an example. Development Bank, and this investment is meant for creative industry, and it's a partnership between federal government and African Development Bank, USAID, Islamic Bank, and one or two, and it's about $618 million. It's a 5-year project, and it's going to create about 1.2 million jobs. Stakeholders in the sector to ensure that fund to go into disability sector. That's about $30-something million, and we believe that this will help, create a lot of jobs and stimulate a lot of disability-led creative enterprises.
Thank you very much. I'm going to come to the audience in a minute, but if I could ask you, Ave, in 1 or 90 seconds, how do you see tech supporting the gig or the informal sector, and particularly the creative sector? What role do you think how do you think people with disability can leverage on technology to support their work in the creative arts and creative industry?
Okay, tech is a very important aspect whereby persons with disability can use in promoting any work of art or creative they are doing. Because I'll give an example of one other thing I do. Let's say, for instance, the baking. I don't get to meet my customers face to face.
Sorry, House, can we please be a bit silent? Thank you. Please help us maintain decorum. Thank you. Back to you, Ave.
So, like I was saying, many times I don't get to meet my customers face to face. All I need to do is to post my work online, and a customer out there that does not even know me, that does not even know I'm a person with disability, reach out to me and tell me that, oh, I like this, I want to get this and all. So tech is very, very important for persons with disabilities, and it can aid a lot of persons with disabilities to get informed and also pass their works out there to the general public. So I will want the government, I want the Disability Commission to invest a lot in tech to assist persons with disabilities to project their works out there, because it is very, very, we talk about our people in the rural areas. When network is being taken to them, I know that persons in the rural areas too have Android phones. And if network is being taken to them, there are persons with disability out there that are even into creativity. So they will use that to project their work.
Please, can we quiet down? Those of you at the back, I don't know if it's the pepper soup or the spaghetti you're talking about, but we have very important conversation happening on stage. Please quiet down. Thank you.
And also, still calling on the Disability Commission and other partners so that they should take projects like solar energies to the rural areas, so that our persons with disabilities who are talking about inclusivity. So inclusivity is not just those in the urban areas, but those in the rural areas too. So when projects like solar energies are taken to them and network providers are taken to them, those people out there too will be able to use tech to project what they are doing. Just about 3 days ago, one of our sisters that lives around the axis of Kuje that makes bags, these computer Ankara bags, call upon me, asking me to help market her goods on my social media handles. You can see that even wherever of social media, and she was calling on one of those she feels their social media influencers to help and project her work. So tech is very, very important to persons with disabilities, and it should be made available for persons with disabilities, being it in the urban or rural areas.
Thank you very much. I think these are very important conversations. How do we breach the point around access? How do we ensure we break that point around connectivity? But if I could just come to the audience, do we just have maybe one person who have any comments or questions? One person, I'm sure Grace is going to let me come to you. Anyone? Comments or questions? In the absence of none, I would just come back and wrap up the conversation here. Donald, if I could just ask, I mean, we have members of House of Representatives, the Commission, development partners here. What is that one thing that we need to start asking the duty bearers in the room to do to help us change the narrative of disability inclusion, employment with focus on the creative industry? What's that one thing you want to ask?
Yes, one very important thing we need to ask is for them to have
Please, can you speak to the
have
mic?
that buy-in and also engage stakeholders in the creative industry. Because right now we have a lot of opportunities that are in the creative industry. Based on that disability law, if the disability law is implemented and followed and that environment, that regulatory environment is adhered to, I think a lot of people with disability will benefit more from creative industry. Creative industry has more chance of lifting persons with disabilities out of poverty and also creating jobs for persons with disabilities. Like with the mobile app we are developing now, if you can use a smartphone, you have a chance of creating your own micro enterprise and also sell your works around the world and capture into the markets around the world, and it is evolving and it's big.
Thank you very much. So if I could pass the same question to you, Ave, what would you want to see as a change in the next 365 days? One thing you would like to see as a change?
Okay, network providers, services, and solar energy should be taken to our persons in the rural area so that they too can make use of this tech to project their works and to the market, because not everybody will get a white collar jobs. We have a lot of creatives with disabilities out there who are willing and eager to get opportunities to project what they can use their hands or their legs to do. I said hands or legs because some persons are amputees, arm amputees, but they can use their legs to paint beautiful arts. So I would like in the next 365 days, network providers and solar energy projects should be taken to our brothers out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One point you would all agree with me, particularly if you reflect back to 1999 when the president, Olusegun Obasanjo, came on board, you realize that back then, Ankara was nothing. When he started wearing Ankara, Ankara became the order of the day. Yes or no? Do you all agree? Now, what we've seen is that the power of leaders and the leadership influence. We hope also that one day, from the members of House of Reps, people from development partners, government officials will also start patronizing the arts, the work of art of persons with disability, not because they do have disability, but for the creativity and the productivity that they actually generate. I think the panelists have done a marvelous work, and I think they deserve a round of applause for sharing their thoughts on this. But I also want to say this, particularly as we wrap up, that the change begins with you and I. My fellow moderator previously was even saying we have 58 days. I think we do not have any 58 days anymore, looking at the fact that the act will start to be enforced from January 17, meaning that we just have less than 48 days to go. That change begins with you and I. The creative industry is an opportunity, has a huge and immense opportunity to create work for people with disability. We all need to come together, invest in the skills and the self-confidence, help to remove the barriers, and find areas where policies interventions can help us to change the narrative. At this junction, I want to say thank you all for listening to us, and let's continue to put the story out there. Disability is not a barrier, it is everyone's business. What about you? Will you join us to say that?
Yes.
Disability is not everyone's barrier, it is everybody's business. Thank you all, and
you.
do have a blessed night rest.
Thank you so much. Please put your hands together for our panel. While we pose for a group picture, where are the camera people? We also have a token of appreciation to you. Please, let's step forward. Can we have the group picture quickly? All right, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. We are in the last part of the activity, and we'll call it a night. At this point, we want to present the Disability Inclusion and Leadership Awards to the recipients. And to help us in presenting these, we are inviting the member of the board of Jonapid, Madam Ene. Madam Ene, I hope I pronounced it well. Please join me on stage in presenting these awards. I'm also going to be inviting Madam Omoji Kalu to join us. And representing the board of advisors of Project Enable Africa, our representative, Dr. Adebayo, is also here. I'm going to invite him to join us on stage. 3 of them will be presenting to all the remaining awardees. So the format is going to take is this. I'm going to invite each awardee forward. They would receive the award and they would have a minute to say something, because I know they might have 1 or 2 things to say, especially about how they got to this point. So at the first to receive this award at this time, I'm going to invite forward Chief Cosmas Hype Okoli. Please put your hands together for Chief Okoli. If you remember the documentary, he played a key role in the documentary we just watched. Not just in mobilizing, but in financing. One of our ushers, please, we are going to... Yes. It's quite... Oh, wow. All right, this award, sir, is to appreciate you for your invaluable contribution towards the Nigeria Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act. And the good thing is we just saw the video. It was clear. It was obvious, you know, from the drafting to mobilizing. I can't imagine how much effort it took to go across 5 states, you know, get crashing into government house, demanding to be heard, you know, and a lot of all the things that you probably have not said, you know, as part of the struggle. So I'm going to give this to Madam Ene to present it on our behalf to Chief Okoli.
Thank you so much for all you did, the risks you took, and the strategies you were able to pull through. I'm privileged to present this to you on behalf of Project Enable.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to thank Project Enable for this wonderful work, because what they've done is to put records straight about the struggle for disability legislation in Nigeria. You can't underrate the importance of that job. And to my brothers and sisters with disability, I want to tell you, time of advocacy, time of struggle to get the bill, and all we put in have paid off. Now we have the bill. We are not going to sit or begin to hold meetings and conferences to appeal to people to respect the law, to abide by the law. So it's incumbent on all of us to test the law, begin to challenge that law. For example, for purposes of protecting businesses who are not yet able to do the right thing, I want to tell you that, I will tell you one story with Shola Adefa, Secretary of Finance. He registered to vote in Amuodofi, where I live. And he called me and said, look, I was not able to transfer my voting unit to where I live. I'm going to come over and spend the night in a hotel so that I can vote. Please, can you help me secure accommodation? I went round Festac, Amuodofi. I could not get any place that had 100% access for him. The only place I could get was where he had to be carried over 2 steps to get into the hotel. And I was alarmed. So my brother said, what I'm saying is that when come January, we should begin to test that law. We should begin to sue people. We should begin to take people to court and to, get our rights enforced. Time for begging is gone. Time for appealing is gone. 5 years is not enough education, enough information, enough notice for you to become compliant. If you are not, we are coming after you. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before you leave, the second recipient is Senator Bode Olajumoke. He's not here. Papa is hold, even from the video, but we are going to present it to you on his behalf.
You know, when I think back, I remember that I think it was during the Senate President David Mark. I realized that that strategy you deployed was so effective that all of them suddenly said this bill must be passed. And it gave them distinguished senator, he personally involved himself. So this is a great opportunity. I'm glad that I'm presenting this to him through you, because he has done so well. And I know too that eventually the history will be expanded. Whoever is not part of this should not be discouraged. But this
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm receiving this on behalf of Senator Bode Olajumoke. I want to tell you that Senator Olajumoke is one man who did so much to ensure that the bill was passed and signed into law. I remember when I came back from World Economic Forum in South Africa, Baroness Linda Choker from Britain, after I made presentation, she came to me and said, listen, I did something in UK that you can do in Nigeria. When I became a member of parliament, I had to sit a day on wheelchair. I went to work with wheelchair. Everything I did for that day was on wheelchair. And when I finished, I was able to wear a shoe for just a day. And so if all the legislators, at least some of them can do that, you will go a long way. And when I came back, I went to Senator Lajmoke. He bought it and did it effortlessly, funded it, did everything. And it really, I remember that day, David Mack appealed to them. Please, those of you who have become blind overnight, who have become wheelchair users, we have heard you. You have spoken loud and clear. Please, can you go back to your seat? They refused. They had to finish that day on wheelchairs. Some were blindfolded, and so on and so forth. So it's a great honor to receive this on behalf of Senator Lajmoke. I thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Very quickly, we're going to invite forward Mr. David Okon. Please, let's put our hands together for Mr. David Okon. He was a former president. Please put your hands together for him. I remember when we started Project Enable Africa, he was one of those people I consulted and spoke to because he was working in the private sector and I needed to understand how that was happening. You're welcome, sir.
Congratulations, sir. On behalf of Project Enable Africa, for your invaluable contribution towards the Nigerian Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act of 2019. We say this is a well-deserved honor, and we are proud that you are here standing on your feet to receive the honor. Well done, sir.
Thank you very much. Project Enable. I'm indeed very, very glad to be here. I will say that a journey of 23 years is not a small joke. I remember the first time we ever thought of this was 27th of March, the year 2000. When a group of young guys, which I was one, gathered at the Co-FM hall in Ikeja and had a seminar where we invited the National Assembly to come and listen to us. And we pointed out that the Constitution of Nigeria did not protect persons with disabilities. At the end of that seminar, the speaker, Omar Naba, invited us to come up with a bill, with proposals that will become a bill. We did that. After about 2-3 months, we submitted the very first proposals to the National Assembly. That was adopted by Chibudom Uche, the Deputy Speaker of the House. That was passed, harmonized with some other smaller bills that came up, was passed in 2003. Unfortunately, that did not see the light. We were sad. We were depressed. In fact, some of us cried. And we remember asking the then president, Obasanjo, why didn't you sign the bill? In one of his radio programs, he said, go and meet the Attorney General. He will give you reasons. Well, we continue the journey. It was passed 3 other times, but it did not see the light of the day. 2019, this came to light. We are very grateful, and we're glad to Project Enable that is reminding us of this. I say to persons with disabilities and other stakeholders that the journey has just begun. The implementation, we have to work assiduously well and make sure that every person with disability in Nigeria will have his rightful place. On my part, this award will encourage me to put in more efforts. And I will tell you, we'll achieve together as a group. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, next we are going to invite forward Mr. Olushola Adeyefa. Please put your hands together for him. You saw the documentary and you saw some of the important contributions that he made, particularly in the drafting of the bill.
Hi, Mr. Lushola. This is a day of honor, and we are glad that you are one of the recipients of this award. This shows that your resilience, your astute nature, and your fight was never in vain, and we appreciate you for that. Keep doing what you're doing, and more will come. Congratulations. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. I would like to dedicate these awards to 3 people who had helped me in this journey in providing leadership in the disability community. First was a woman who is who was like a mother to me, late now, Mrs. Fuluke Edowu. Secondly is also late Barrister Dalami Bashir. I dedicate this to him as well. And thirdly is my mentor, my chief, my former boss, Mr. Cosmas Ikechukwu Blaze Okoli, OON. Thank you so much. As a young graduate from the university about 16 years ago, he saw a lot of talent in me and he gave me his shoulders to lean on. I feel I did a lot. It made me to work at the national level, though it came with a lot of challenges and a lot of rewards, and this is part of it, sir. This is dedicated to you. Thank you so much for all you've done. I want to say that to everyone that today benefits from the struggles of our late heroes and the living veterans, it is not just about us sitting in offices in Abuja. It is not about us living in hotels in Abuja. It is about the grassroots people. What led us to working, developing the disability. From my university days, we were distributing wheelchairs across Osun State, across Oyo States, across our states. We're coming to Mr. Cosmas Okoli to distribute wheelchairs. And that was what led us to where we are today. And those people are still suffering in our local communities. So I want to implore everybody that are leaders as a result of these bills, of these laws, to please remember to go back to the grassroots and let's embark on projects implementing the law in a way that will benefit millions of persons with disability in our local communities. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Really nice to meet you. All right, we have about 3 more. which would run through quickly. Next is Mr. Jake Ekwele, the Executive Director of the Albino Foundation. He's not here tonight, but he's represented. So please put your hands together as we welcome his representative to receive this.
Congratulations, sir. And we are happy to honor you for your hard work, for all the good fights, for being strong, even in the midst of, just like we watched in the video, whereby he fought to be recognized into the hood of disability family. And from there, he took off and see where he has gotten him to. And we appreciate you for that. And we pray that you send our regards to him, that he's well honored, respected, and we appreciate him more. Congratulations.
All right, we are trying to rush through it because of time. Yes. Next is Mrs. Rose Modi, who was also an important part of that, especially for the inclusion of persons with intellectual and learning disabilities, which I think was very, very important. Is the representative of Mrs. Rose Modi here? All right, please, let's put our hands together for her as she comes on quickly.
Congratulations once again, and thank you for being here. On behalf of Project Enable Africa, we are saying Madam Rose Modi is fantastic, and she's a super woman. So I regard and honor to her. Thank you.
All right, second to the last, I promise. Another very important person with a strong voice, especially if you see the documentary, Mr. David Anyale, the Executive Director of Center for Citizens with Disabilities, is not here, but he's represented. Let's invite his representative, Mrs. Austin Florence, to receive this on his behalf. And finally,
All right, thank you so much. Let me commend Project Enable on behalf of the founder of Center for Citizens with Disabilities, Mr. David Obinna Anyale, and also the present SA to Abia State Governor on Disability Matters. I want to thank Project Enable for this effort. It's quite commendable. And Mr. David is the one man I know that doesn't give up. So, and I also want to appreciate disability communities, as many that participated in this struggle. At least I can see so many faces that joined this struggle today. And also I want to charge us that it's time to work harder. It's time to put our voices out there. Like Mr. David normally said, that it's time for naming and shaming. So we need to test the law. We need to carry accessible audits across the MDAs, across the structures, across, and make sure that as the transition period is coming to an end, January 2024, that we begin to test the law and be able to get our voice heard and ensure the full implementation
of Disability Act. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have decided to wait to keep this for the last one because of the significance. But before I mention this award, I want to quickly say that there are two awardees that we are not presenting here tonight because they are not here and they do not have representatives. But their contribution is equally important. The first person is Barrister Daniel Onwe. Like we saw in the video, his contribution was extremely significant, especially in drafting and harmonizing the bill. The second person we had wanted to recognize is Senator Bukola Saraki, the Senate President, when the bill was finally passed and sent to the presidency for assent. In absentia, I'm going to ask that we put our hands together for these two important people. We hope that we would have an opportunity to present to them in the future. But for tonight, the Senior Special Advisor to the President, or to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I think that's also because this is a journey is just starting. You know, he has 4 years. And I know on his shoulder now there is a lot of responsibility for strategic actions and engagement for him to lead. So I'm going to welcome forward the Senior Special Advisor to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and I know he has a lot of lofty ideas to achieve, and we are wishing him all the best in the next couple of years. Please, let's put our hands together as we welcome to the stage Honorable Comrade Mohammed Abba Isa, the Senior Special Advisor to the President.
Congratulations, sir. On behalf of Project Enable Africa, we say kudos and more feathers to your wing, even as you fly with successful stories, coming back with more bills and also implementing them for the furtherance of the disabilities. God bless you.
Thank you, ma. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all. This award is an award of struggle, it's an award of commitment, it's an award of selfless service to the cause of disability. And I really appreciate the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for making me to be Senior Special Assistant of Person with Disability. Why? Because he make a right choice. He choose one of us, person with disability, to choose somebody that is committed, and I will never compromise the issue of persons with disability. And Mr. President is passionate about persons with disability and is ever ready to support from the government side. That is why he created this office in line with the Renew Hope agenda. And inshallah, we are going to work together in partnership with the Project Enabling and other organizations to make sure that we achieve the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President. And and also I want to appreciate all the organizers, more especially Project Enabling, to continue your good work in making sure that you select some people that exempt themselves and they committed themselves in order to award them. This will ginger them a lot. Thank you so much, and God bless Nigeria. And I dedicated this award to 31 Nigerian persons with disability. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. On this note, we have come to the end of this, but I'm going to invite to sort of put all of this together, and that is the final thing. After that, we dance a little, celebrate, and then when Mama calls, we go. All right. I think a lot of things have been said tonight, and it's important that we remind ourselves about all of the content that has been shared today. And we have no other person, because she's already here on stage, we have no other person better to put that together than the board member of Jonapid, Madam Ene. Please put your hands together for Madam Ene. She's going to put all of this together and give us the closing remarks as we go.
Thank you so much. I will not take your time. The first time I saw my son here, what caught my attention was the height. And you can see from what is using the platform to do for humanity, you can see that the height is symbolic. His height is symbolic. Project Enable, you see what is doing for us. If you look around the hall is 98% full. It's not common with other vulnerable groups. Others would have left. One thing that caught my time, I saw how the first panel, the second panel, the goodwill messages. Grace, thank you so much. Fantastic. And for creating the opportunity, because it's very rare for you to see persons with disabilities, even in the disability programs, so that you don't see them give opportunity to each other or to themselves to showcase themselves. Thank you so much for that opportunity. I'm so grateful that you are able to manage time well. 3 days ago, we were panel on media and women participation in politics. And they said, what can the media do for them? I said, the media will be limited by the way you participate, you manage your time. So I'm so glad about the management of time. British Council, we are so grateful because without you, it wouldn't have been possible, and all the partnering organizations. Madam President, I call her Madam President, and that should not scare the president of Jonapid. Being the first female president of Jonapid, I know how much she did. God used her to do for Jonapid. And now she's on the supply side. Very interesting. You know, when she was speaking yesterday, years back, she will mobilize against the supply side, but today the duty bearers. I'm glad that yesterday she was telling us that it is not about mobilizing against those on the supply side. It's for us to negotiate. I was quite excited. That is experience. Everybody here has done so well. You have conducted yourselves well, no agitation. And something that drew my attention, the advisor to the president on disability matters, Alaji, advisor, I saw something here. The love I saw is spontaneous. And you know, they said, the love they are giving you, I know you are making commitment. Please don't disappoint this quality of social capital that has been given to you. By extension, it's something they are giving to the president. So please, let nothing in office or outside office take you from there. Look at how everybody came out. Not that you gave money to them to come out to support you. They just came willingly. It doesn't happen with other vulnerable groups, particularly women. Thank you so much, Project Enable. Why this is important? We're trying to tell the story of Violence Against Prohibition Act. I happen to be the first VAB coordinator. We cannot tell the story. You know why? Very little disagreement and not being able to strategize. The strategy for us to take this forward is not combative, come let's fight. It's what can we do? How do we engage terminology? I'm so glad that there has never been time in the history of Nigeria that will have the time ripe like this, that you have the chair committee on disability, committee on women affairs and social, and everybody connected. It's at a time like this that we'll have a Madame Kaite Umo, one of your powerful presidents who delivers so much, sitting there and giving us money. So for everybody here, you have done well. And many more need to support this project so that we can carry it to a higher level that naturally you know, when the SSA was coming up, I saw what happened there. I saw the struggle at the end. So it's a personal experience that I know he wants to translate into action. Because nobody, like Razak said, we shouldn't make it their problem. It's our problem. So I thank all of you so much. And I thank you because the most important is the action we are going to be taking as the time is ticking, so that when we come back to do a review, we see that we have been able to collectively have better results without fighting. We can negotiate our way out of fight, because women took federal government to court, federal government appealed, even when the time has lapsed. And we have been struggling because we didn't put our strategy together. Like Madam Kaite said, please let us continue to think and have a better strategy, so that when the time is full, the 5 years is full, we have a lot to do. Let's do monitoring, evaluation, and learning. The time to upscale everything that has to do with disability inclusion is now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And on that note, we call it a night. This is to appreciate every one of you, especially our moderator for today. She's a big star, but she honored us with her presence today. Madam Grace Jerry, Executive Director of Inclusive Friend Association. Thank you so much. And we are also, thank you. Please receive that token for us. We can't say enough thank you. So I'm just going to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Take one of the thank yous. Oh, sure. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you again, everyone. Please have a good evening. We would have some music, and please feel free. Music, please. The National President of Intellectual Disability Cluster, we appreciate you for coming. Thank you.
Somebody shake something tonight.